Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
Hello. Good morning, squirrel friends. Shout out to Iowa and shout out to Squeaky. I hope, let me add that to the stage. I hope Squeaky's doing okay. I saw the pictures of the tree there, and it looked like from what you said, the squirrels were unharmed. Welcome, Mary. Oh, work stuff is tripping. That sucks. Don't let work get in the way of trial, I will say. I just wanted to start here by showing y'all that. So as you guys have, I'm sure, all seen that Shanon Burgess's page on Aperture is like 404, right? And by 404, I don't mean Rule 404B. I mean, it's just not there. Judson Welcher, though, is still up and running. So I think we looked at this back when he was first announced as an expert, but we might go delving more into this, though, on one of the breaks. But I just wanted to show you all that this is still up and running. So in other words, they haven't pulled him from Aperture's website yet. So just wanted to point that out. Good morning, Candace. The fever came back. I'm so sorry to hear that. That's awful. Is your taste still improving though, hopefully? Bat cat be bat catting. I mean, that's for sure. Love bat cat though. But wait, does he hurt the bunnies? I can't think about that. I have to keep that out of my mind. Okay. So another thing I wanted to point out real quick too here is last night on the live stream, there was the part here towards the end of Cross where he asked the question about on his own initiative. And I was like, oh my God, I remember on Direct, like I found that exact spot when it was happening on Direct and like I commented on it. Anyway, I have the spots queued up. So just to close the loop on that one.
And right in the middle of this trial, you enlarge the number for the 21 to 29 range. That's bigger than what it was in your first report, correct?
No, that is not correct.
Well, you changed the number, don't you?
No, I did not change the number.
Well, let's go back to see exactly what you did, sir.
Oh,
sure.
God. Oh, why?
Let's start with the basics. You said on direct examination, sir, that you prepared your May 8th report on your own initiative. Those were your words on your direct testimony, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to read the first line of your May 8th,
This is
2025
You're
report.
Brennan.
Okay.
Oh, God. If maybe it were a different judge, I think could get in trouble with the bar.
You have it in front of you, sir.
I do, yes.
It starts, Dear Mr. Brennan. You see,
Because basically what this is getting to is Brennan knowingly eliciting false testimony. And that's what I wanted to just line this right up. Because we talked about this last night. But see, this part surprised me. I pointed out the question on Direct. And then when we got to Cross, I was like, holy shit. So
do you have it in front of you, sir?
I do, yes.
It starts, Dear Mr. Brennan. You see that?
Yes, I do.
Pursuant to your request.
Oh, God.
That's a request you're referring to of Mr. Brennan, correct?
Correct.
I have completed an additional analysis concerning the above referenced matter. To formulate opinions,
I'm sorry, but he has just now. Oh, my God. So this is me commenting from last night. He has just now, what Leslie has just done, we're going to listen to this again. He has just now tied all of this shenanigans, all of this dishonesty, all of this weaselness, all this bullshit. He has just now put it all on Brennan. Oh, fuck.
2025 report.
Okay.
Do you have it in front of you, sir?
I do, yes.
It starts, Dear Mr. Brennan. You see that?
God. Oh, my God.
Yes, I do.
Pursuant to your request.
Wow.
That's a request you're referring to of Mr. Brennan, correct?
Correct.
I have completed an additional analysis concerning the above referenced.
Fender, we're watching today. I just wanted to close the loop on this. So pursuant to your request. And as promised, sure enough, I have it timestamped. I haven't finished timestamps, but I have the part timestamped that I was looking for, which is the part where he, right here on your own initiative, right here. So this is on direct. So the question here on cross was, did you do this of your own initiative? Or you said that on direct. And he said, yes. But then he showed the email, and he said, and the email from him saying, dear Mr. Brennan, pursuant to your request, right? Here's the change in the data. And the point being of where Brennan, I think, should be getting in trouble with the bar for eliciting knowingly false testimony is because here's his question on direct.
When you decided to delve deeper into this, was that on your own initiative or were you requested to do it?
That was on my own initiative.
Again, with this whole thing to delve deeper into, and I even said last night that I made a joke about it. The delving was the joke, but that's the reason why I remembered it when it came out on cross, because Brennan plays this whole thing up that it was his own initiative, and he goes through it a number of times, but the email is like, dear Mr. Brennan, pursuant to your request, here's the change in the fucking data and the change in the da-da-da, and this is the May 8th report. So what this looks like clearly to me is Brennan, because Brennan asked this question. It wasn't open-ended, right? It was leading as fuck. Listen.
The presentation.
Well,
When you decided to delve deeper into this, was that on your own initiative or were you requested to do it?
That was on my own initiative.
again, with this whole thing to delve deeper into this, crazy, the languaging he uses is wild, man.
Now,
And he says another thing earlier here too. Where is it? Similarly, well, actually, we'll do this a different time. I've got so many things I wanted to follow up on. We're gonna jump. Okay, here's the thing. I've got lots of stuff I wanted to follow up on from last night. Like literally, I couldn't sleep. My mind was just like going the whole time. Because like there's just so much. And like literally I was just like, not that I really sleep all that much anyway, but I was really just like, my brain was like, oh my God, there's like so much here. So anyway, we're going to jump into today's testimony, but when we get to sidebars and breaks and whatnot, I've got a whole bunch of stuff planned. I got stuff I want to follow back up on from yesterday, but also I found homie's old CV and report and all this other stuff that hasn't been taken down from the internet yet. I have it. So we're going to go through that too. So that's exciting. So now let's jump into today though. Okay. So welcome Twiz. Let me see here. Oh yeah. And we also have Judson Welcher's website pulled up. I've got all kinds of good stuff here. So, okay. So now here we go. So here's today. Okay.
Joe, I'll remind you, you're still on the road. Thank you.
Fender, are you caught up on this testimony? All right, Mr. Alessi, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, Ms. Burgess.
Morning.
On your direct examination yesterday, your experience was brought up in questions, correct?
Correct.
On your direct examination, your certifications were brought up in questions, correct?
Incorrect.
There was no discussion in your direct examination about having certifications in Celebrite and Magnet Forensic Axiom. Did I mishear you?
No, if I misheard your question, it was.
I asked about certifications. I'll repeat it, sir,
Sure.
in case I misspoke. On your direct examination, your certifications were brought up in questions, correct?
Yes, correct.
However, on your direct examination, no questions were asked of you at all about your supposed education, correct?
Correct.
And you did not bring up your educational background at all on
Correct.
direct examination, correct?
Correct.
A forensic examiner must prioritize accuracy, correct?
Correct.
A forensic examiner must prioritize reliability, correct?
Correct.
Both are important.
Correct.
It's criminal proceeding we're in, correct?
Correct.
And therefore, accuracy and reliability are especially important in a criminal case as opposed to a civil case, correct?
I think that would be equally important in both, but yes,
But they're certainly important in a criminal case.
correct.
And accuracy and reliability are especially important when
Excited about that.
seconds and minutes
Excited.
matter as they matter and as you testify to in this case, correct?
Correct.
You testified yesterday that the events on the timeline contained in your PowerPoint presentation that was displayed yesterday and presented to the jury were accurate, your words several times, down to the second, correct?
Correct. For the Lexus, yes.
For the Lexus.
Yes.
You said they were accurate down to the second, correct?
Correct.
Let's take a look at your PowerPoint presentation that you discussed extensively before the jury yesterday. Mr. Wool, could we please bring up slide 32 of the presentation Mr. Burgess discussed with the jury yesterday? And Your Honor, with your permission to publish,
Okay.
thank you. Mr. Burgess, pick your screen.
Sure.
Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Miss Reed's Lexus vehicle traveling to 34 Fairview Road and the O'Keefe residence?
Yes.
According to your timeline, Miss Reed's vehicle powered on at 12:36 a.m. on January 30th, correct?
Correct.
Now, is your timeline on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
For the power on and off events, yes.
Yes. Could we go to slide 33, please, Mr. Wolk? And we're going to go through a handful of slides,
Sure.
Mr. Burgess, to just give you a heads up. Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed leaving the O'Keefe residence at 5:07 a.m.?
Yes, it is.
And according to your timeline, Ms. Reed powered on her vehicle at 5:07:46 a.m. on January 30th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
Is the time on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes, according to the Lexus, yes.
If we could go, Mr. Woke, to slide 34, please. And these are all your slides, correct, sir?
Correct, they
You
are.
prepared them?
Yes.
Is slide 34 a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed traveling to the Dighton residence at 12:25:01 a.m.? I'm sorry, 12:25:01 p.m.
12:35:01. Correct.
I'm sorry, thank you, 12:35. And according to your analysis, Ms. Reed powered on her vehicle to travel to Dighton at 12:35:01 p.m. on January 30th, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And is the time on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes.
Slide 35, please, Mr. Wolk. Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed's vehicle being towed by the Massachusetts police vendor from her parents' residence in Dighton?
Yes, it is.
And pursuant to your timeline that you created here, Ms. Reed's vehicle was powered on at 4:11 p.m. on January 30th, 2022, and towed to the Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
Is your timeline on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes, this timestamp is.
Slide 36, please, Mr. Wolf. Is slide 36 a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed's vehicle arriving at the Canton Police Department?
Yes, it is.
And pursuant to the timeline you created, Ms. Reed's vehicle powered off at 5:36:42 p.m. on January 30th, 2022, correct?
Objection. Objection.
Okay. Is your analysis down to, is your analysis on slide 36 accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes, according to the Lexus, yes.
According to the Lexus?
Yes.
In point of fact, Mr. Burgess, none of the 5 timelines that we just reviewed from your presentation are accurate at all, and certainly not down to the second. Am I right or am I wrong?
You are wrong.
Are you aware? And if we could go back to the first slide, which is slide 32, and we'll look at each of them quickly.
Sure.
Are you aware that all of the relevant events in the timeline you described in your presentation in these slides actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, not January 30th, 2022. Do you know that?
This is January 30th, 2022.
That's
January 29th, correct.
It's January 29th, 2022. And in terms of January 30th, I want to go back and make sure it's very, very clear. In your presentation, they actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, correct?
The night of the incident, yes.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
So what he's getting
Mr.
at,
Burgess,
obviously, is he got the
once
date wrong.
that timeline crosses into midnight, it's January 30th, not January 29th, correct?
Correct. Yes, it is January 30th. Yes.
So in actuality, these 5 timelines, as you testified to them yesterday, are not accurate down to the second, correct? Because you got the wrong date.
Yeah.
Well, parlance, yes, but yes, they are still accurate to the second.
But the date, these 5 timelines, let's pursue this.
Mhm.
These 5 timelines are exactly 24 hours off from the time where the event actually occurred, correct?
No. So these events occurred on January 30th. If I misspoke and said the 29th, yes.
Okay.
So of course the point there is like you got a dude who's lied about his degrees, but also he got his uppercase B's and his lowercase B's mixed up, and he gets his dates mixed up, and he's also at the same time saying to the jury that everything, that the timeline matters down to the second. I mean,
You
this is
understand my point.
happening
Yes,
now.
I do.
We are right. You're just right behind the court feed. This is right meow.
The core basis
Right
of
here.
your job, your role in this case, is to reconcile time discrepancies, as you say, down to the second, correct?
Correct.
But your discussion of the timeline on each of these slides, on each of these key events, is incorrect, correct?
No, it's not incorrect.
So your discussion of the applicable date, you're saying, as you described it yesterday and interpreted this timeline, was correct? Is that what you're saying now?
This timeline is correct.
But my
Yes.
question is your discussion of it yesterday.
If I misspoke and said the 29th, then yes, I misspoke on that. Yes.
My
And
God.
that was your testimony yesterday. which
Another
you spoke
mistake.
Yes.
about. Let's turn to a different topic. Lights up, if we could, and thank you for taking that down, Mr. Wolf.
Like,
Your, actually, to
What-
mitigate the
what do y'all think this dude did when he went home last night? What do y'all think he did? I think he's married. I recall Lookie thinking he had a ring on his finger, which was noticeable only because it was like black. Like it stood out when he was like holding one of his fake ass CVs. One of them numerous times. So, I mean, can you imagine coming home? Hi, honey, how was your day? What on earth do you even say? Y'all let me know in the chat because I don't have words.
consistencies that you analyzed yesterday between independent clocks. Am I correct that your position is that forensic methodology recommends cross-referencing timestamps from multiple sources to identify discrepancies, and when possible, leveraging time anchors, events that contain both a system timestamp and an external physical event to identify and correct timing discrepancies. Do I have that right?
Yes, you did.
Yesterday, we talked about the scientific method. You recall that, sir?
I do.
And how it's designed to prevent bias from infecting the analysis. You recall that as well?
Yes, I do.
And yesterday, you agreed that experts should never selectively gather and interpret evidence to confirm a pre-existing belief while neglecting evidence that contradicts those beliefs, correct?
Correct.
And doing that is called confirmation bias, which you said you understood yesterday, right?
That is correct.
That would be improper to do that, correct?
Yes.
It would raise the specter, if not the reality, of unreliability if that occurred, correct?
It could, yes.
And it could also lead into errors in forensic analyses, correct?
Correct.
Let's take a look at your January 30th report, sir.
Uh-oh.
And this is your first report, your second report being the May 8th report.
I don't even know what's going to happen because this literally is happening now. Like we're just behind the court feed, but all you need to hear is Mr. Lussi say, let's take a look at, and then it doesn't even matter what it is. And it's like, because no matter what it is, it's just not going to be good. I mean, yeah, Candace is right. The setup and the destruction. I mean, it's just,
In your January 30th report, you did not issue any opinion or conclusion with regard to the timing of what you called a text stream event 1162.2 in your January 30th report, did you?
No, I did not.
You didn't even mention either the phrase text stream event or the phrase 1162.2 in your January 30, 2025 report, did you?
No, I did not.
But in that January 30, 2025 report, you did evaluate the variance between the Lexus infotainment system on the one hand and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone data on the other, correct?
Correct.
In fact, in that report, the January 30th report, you compared the call logs on Miss Reed's Lexus infotainment system with the call logs on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone in order to evaluate whether there was a variance, correct?
Correct.
And do I have it correct in your report that it's the position that the timestamp call log data, specifically the recorded calls between Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe, along with the infotainment power event logs, were analyzed for what you called clock skew by cross-referencing them against other independent data sources, right?
so the names have changed. Are these all the same thing? No one's established this. We have clock skew, clock drift, clock variance, and there could be a fourth one, but at the very least, we have 3 terms now. And no one has, I would imagine Mr. Lussi's going to go there, but no one has clarified if these are all the same thing. Because we shouldn't assume it. You know what I mean?
No, so that would have been comparing the timestamps from Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone with the timestamps from the defendant's Lexus.
Right.
Correct. Yes.
Yes. Right. To Ms. Reed's Lexus.
Correct.
And a forensic comparison of these data sets was aimed to identify timestamp discrepancies, correct?
Correct.
To identify potential clock skew, correct?
Correct.
And potential clock drift that could impact event reconstruction, correct?
Correct.
All as stated in your January 30th report, right?
Correct.
You know, I just want to remind everybody, in case anyone's like, that's dumb, when I'm like, the jury needs to be told if clock skew, clock drift, and clock variance are the same things. Just remember, right? In all of these trials, whenever they talk about Google, for example, or Safari, for example, or Instagram, or an iPhone, or even stuff that's even more basic than that, TikTok, whatever the case may be, they have to define it for the jury because you can't assume the jury knows. And that's just part of how it goes. So especially when you've got, these are new terms, right? These are not real things. The clock skew, clock drift, clock variance, this is all new words, new terms. And now we have 3 sets of them. And so, that's why I'm saying, like, they need to make, Brennan should have made it clear. That's his job, not, so whatever.
Have a moment.
Have a moment. Kleenex. I don't think that box of Kleenex is usually there. I think this box of Kleenex, guys, because I always point out the box of Kleenex because it's actually changed. The box of Kleenex is usually on like the ledge of the witness box near that white thingy-mabobber there. Did somebody move that closer to him just in case? And was that Mr. Alessi? Did Mr. Alessi, before he got there, before the witness got there, did Mr. Alessi come in and just tip, 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 like tap that little tap, 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 tap the Kleenex box and nudge it. Oops. And now it came over the ledge and now it's sitting right there next to him just to tease him, just to torture him. Possible. A little bit of psychological torture.
BBB ID.
May I present to the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Burgess, I am presenting to you what has been marked as Exhibit BBB for identification.
A BB.
I'd ask you to take a look at it, sir, and then pick your head up when you've had a fair opportunity to take a look at it.
Oh, he's still saying pick your head up. Brilliant. Pick your head up. Only with this witness so far. It's a new,
Okay, sure.
a new break.
Do you recognize that document, sir?
I do.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. What do you recognize that document to be, sir?
Sure. So this is a graph that I put together that is comparing timestamps, call timestamps from the infotainment module with Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
And is that Exhibit BBB for identification in your January 30, 2025 report?
Yes, it is.
And did you create that chart that is depicted in Exhibit BBB for identification?
Yes, I did.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of the information that you discussed in page 33 of your January 30, 2025 report?
Yes, it is.
I offer Exhibit BBB for identification into evidence, Your Honor.
If we can introduce the whole report to put it in
Why don't I?
context.
This again. Heather, what is AURS? Is that a typo? Oh boy. The faces she was making yesterday, she needs to be told not to be doing that, just saying. I think, oh, there's an orange highlighter. Look at it. Do I think Lolly takes notes? No, personally. I mean, every time that we've seen him, whenever the camera, I mean, not that it happens all that often, but like whenever the camera does like show him, he's just sitting there. I mean, he's at least alive. I mean, like all these pretrial hearings, he was, just courtroom furniture, but he's at least done things this trial. But no, I don't think he's taking notes.
May I continue, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, I offer Exhibit BBB into evidence.
Okay.
DB, who is it now? Hold on.
I offer Exhibit BBB into evidence.
BB.
Exhibit 189.
Thank you.
They represented to the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Burgess, I am representing to you what is now Exhibit 189 in evidence.
Presented.
Ask you to, once again, take a look at it, and if you need further time, please take it, sir, and then pick up your head
And
when
then
you've had a fair opportunity
your
to look
head.
at that document.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
Despite claiming the purpose in your January 30 report of, quote, identifying timestamp discrepancies, potential clock skew, and clock drift, you did not
Oh, Lord.
compare the time of the three-point turn between the infotainment system in the Lexus SUV and Mr. O'Keefe's phone, did you?
Not at that time, no.
Instead, you identified the potential variance by analyzing various calls on the infotainment system of the Lexus versus Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
This data in that exhibit captures a precise moment in time that is easily compared between the two devices, correct?
Correct, it does.
Mr. Wolk, Your Honor, may Mr. Wolk please publish this exhibit?
Okay.
So this data, just to reestablish, captures a precise moment in time that's easily compared between the two devices, correct?
Correct.
Now, according to your own table, there are potential offsets of reading in the far right-hand column. 2 seconds. 1 second, 2 seconds, 1 second, 8 seconds, 16 seconds, and 21 seconds, correct?
Okay.
Correct.
And yet, you failed to apply this variance to the infotainment time on the Lexus associated with the text stream event 1162.2, correct?
Correct. May I explain?
I will proceed.
Okay, we're going to back this up. He's building a house here, as I will say. Now, here's what I'm going to say. So you haven't seen Dinosaur 13? Okay, so I figured you would have seen it, Mary. Dinosaur 13 is a documentary, and it's about the largest. Okay, I don't want to get it wrong, but this has been years. The largest. What is it? Of all the dinosaur skeletons they found, and I'm sure this is not the official lingo, but whatever. It's the one that's the most complete. And maybe also the largest, but it's a T-Rex, and it's a female T-Rex. They named her Sue, and she was called Dinosaur 13. Then they named her Sue, and she was in South Dakota, and it was a whole thing, and it's a great documentary. And I figured you would have seen it because it's like a whole thing. And also, I love dinosaurs, and so the only Sue I know is Dinosaur 13. Shout out to Sue, and also shout out to South Dakota, and also shout out to Meg. Okay, now she's a T-Rex, so now we're all caught up to speed. Yeah, it's you guys, if y'all can find that documentary, totally. If I can find it, here's what we'll do. If I can find it, we'll do a movie night. It's so good. You guys will love it. Yeah. It's really, I mean, I figured you would know it. Because, being an archaeologist and whatnot. Okay, so now we're going to see what type of house Mr. Lossi's building here.
They're just to reestablish, captures a precise moment in time that's easily compared between the two devices, correct?
Correct.
Now, according to your own table, there are potential offsets of reading in the far right-hand column. 2 seconds. 1 second, 2 seconds, 1 second, 8 seconds, 16 seconds, and 21 seconds, correct?
Correct.
And yet, you failed to apply this variance to the infotainment time on the Lexus associated with the text stream event 1162.2, correct?
Correct. May I explain?
I will proceed along. I'm sure if Mr. Brennan has questions and wants you to explain, he may choose to do that. This is simple arithmetic, is it not? It's either an addition or a subtraction, the offset, correct?
Correct.
And yet, in your initial report on January 30th, 2025, you did not take that final analytical step, did you?
No, because these clock variances do not apply to that time frame.
But you didn't take, you know what analytical step I'm talking about, correct?
No, I don't. I don't
All
believe so.
Oh my God.
We'll come back to it. I want to go focus on your opinion. What you did do, as I understand it, in your January 30th report. So in your opinion, we can leave that up for a moment.
That's embarrassing. So he's like, I did not take it. But then look, guys. Oh dear.
30th, 2025, you did not take that final analytical step, did you?
No, because these clock variances do
He said no. He didn't take the final analytical step, but he doesn't know what the step is.
not apply to that time frame.
But you didn't take, you know what analytical step I'm talking about, correct?
No, I don't. I don't
All right.
believe so.
We'll come back to it. I want to go focus on your
Damn it,
opinion.
that's
What you
cool.
did do, as I understand it, in your January 30th report. So in your opinion, we can leave that up for a moment, please, because I want to see if we need to show the contrast. With your honor's permission, can we leave it up just a little bit longer?
Yes.
Thank you. In opinion number 5, and please feel free to look at your January 30th report,
Sure.
you indicated only this. The difference between the Lexus infotainment and Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone ranged between 8 seconds and 16 to 21 seconds during the period between 5:21:36 a.m. and 5:30:31 a.m. on January 29, 2022. Do I have that correct?
Yes, between 5:21 and 5:30 a.m.
Yes. Now what I'd like to do is, and we can take that down. Thank you, Mr. Woke. Let's talk about what information you learned after you issued your January 30, 2025 report. Or at the time of that report, you received and reviewed a copy of a portion of your colleague's slide presentation and report at Aperture, Dr. Judson Welcher, correct?
From a presentation by Mr. DeSogra. Yes.
Well,
Correct.
I understand you want to add
Yeah.
Mr. DeSogra. My question is,
Sustain.
okay, yes, Your Honor, thank you. I'm focusing on what would you like to call it? Do you call it a slide presentation you prefer, Dr. Welcher?
Sure. We can.
I want
we
to
can
use
cover-
whatever parlance you're comfortable with.
Yeah, slides fine. Yeah.
Slide. So the slide presentation of Dr. Welcher that he submitted the same day you submitted your report on January 30, 2025. And in that, he analyzed the timing of the 11:62 to what he calls an infotainment event, you call a text stream event, correct?
Well, could I see the slide we're talking about to clarify?
Absolutely.
It's like, and again with all the different terminology, because what was it? So they have a text stream, an infotainment event. He calls it a text stream event. Peter Paul called it a triggering event.
Timing of the 11:62 to what he calls an infotainment event, you call a text stream event, correct?
Well, could I see the slide we're talking about to clarify?
Absolutely. Could we publish what is in the evidence
Zimlia
as
at the
well as 180?
Sucha. Okay.
And I'm also, sir,
This
at
crazy
your request, I want to give you
Sure.
that, if we have 188, we'll just give them the actual marked exhibit.
That's how you know in Russian, right? How do you say crazy?
You know what we'll do?
So
We'll
much
use the
better.
slide. If you need an exhibit, we'll pull the exhibit.
Right.
Please publish, Mr. Woke.
Welcome on in.
Now, if we could enlarge the text, we don't need the map, so make that as large as you can, please, Mr. Woke, in the
That's what she said.
relevant portions. All righty. You're aware that according to Dr. Welcher's analysis, as depicted in this slide in evidence, the 11:62-2, what he calls an infotainment trigger that you call a text stream event, right?
Correct.
The 11:62-2 text stream event occurred at 12:31:38 a.m. on January 29, 2022, correct?
Correct.
And that's when it began, right?
That's when the trigger threshold was met. Yes.
That's when the trigger threshold was met.
correct.
You, we can take that down now, Mr. Woke. You also testified yesterday that you reviewed Mr. Whiffen, Mr. Ian Whiffen's January report, which established a timeline of the last interactive events on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, could we please publish Exhibit 39, which is in evidence?
Okay.
And we could go to slide 82 and have 83 available, if we can enlarge the applicable sections. And what I'm going to ask you, Mr. Burgess, is to see whether these events are consistent with your memory of what the applicable events are. Do you see the column biometric device unlock with Face ID event at 12:32:04 a.m.?
Yes.
Now that's after the 12:31:38 a.m. 11:62:2 text stream event that's in Mr. Welcher's slide, correct, that we just saw?
Correct. The unadjusted Lexus clock. Yes. Timestamp. Yes.
So, but I'm going to repeat the question.
Okay, I'm gonna back it up because one thing that's not come up at all yet with this dude and the timeline, and the Commonwealth still has not addressed this yet, and it's sort of all of their big problems, it might be their biggest problem of all, which is the 1236 Wi-Fi connection. So I want to back this up. And make sure I'm
Do
thinking
you
about that.
see the column biometric device unlock with Face ID event at 12:32:04 a.m.?
Okay.
Yes.
Now that's after the 12:31:38 a.m. 11:62:2 text stream event that's in Mr. Welcher's slide, correct?
Yep.
That we just saw.
Correct. The unadjusted Lexus clock. Yes. Timestamp. Yes.
So, but I'm going to repeat the question. The 12:32:04 a.m. device unlock with Face ID event is after the 12:31:38 and 12:31:43 11:62:2 text stream event that is stated in Dr. Welcher's report, correct?
Correct.
Now, do you see the lock event which occurred at
123209.
12:32:09?
Oh,
Yes, I do.
cool.
That
Yeah,
is also after the 12:31:38 to
I'm the last recipient.
12:31:43 text stream event, correct?
Yes, the unadjusted time.
I have not been on Discord
That
because I've been
12:32:09 a.m. lock event is after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 range that is stated in Dr. Welcher's report, correct?
Correct. From the Lexus clock.
So if we could go back, and we're going to keep toggle back with your honor's permission between these two slides for the next couple questions. If we can go back to and enlarge Dr. Welcher's
Make it bigger.
slide.
Make it bigger. Oh, okay. So it's
That 12:31:38
Okay.
to
So wait, I
12:31.
speak back. Like I said, I was like, I haven't been on Discord, and then I'm like, wait, hold on. You said Karen Reed again. My brain has been so cracked out on this whole, like, I've been investigating. You guys have no idea. Like, I've got all these lists going. I feel like a crazy person, like that meme with Charlie from Always Sunny, and he's got all the red strings and the pins and the map, and that was me. And so I was like, oh yeah, I haven't been on Discord. And then as soon as I saw this from Happy Annie about the Karen Reed, I was like, oh wait, no, I was on Discord briefly in the Karen Reed thing for something. I don't even remember what happened, but I was there for a very brief moment. And then I went back to crack scrolling, as it were. Like I said, for anyone who missed it, I found some good stuff that's going to be fun to take a look at on the breaks, guys. Woo!
43 time period is what your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, chose and his slide analysis as the last user interaction, according to him, on John O'Keefe's phone, correct? That's what he chose.
Yes, the 12:32:09. Yes.
Now, if we could go back to and zero in, please. Now, but even Mr. Whiffin's report establishes additional activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone after the event chosen by Dr. Welcher, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, Mr. Whiffin identifies a, quote, lock event that occurred 26 seconds after the 11:62:2 text stream event identified by Dr. Welcher at 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Correct. Using the unadjusted clock.
Does Dr. Welcher at all use the words unadjusted clock in his slide, sir?
No. He does
Okay, what I'd like to do is ask you a question about whether, in fact, Mr. Whiffin identifies a lock event that occurred 26 seconds after the 11:62:2 text stream event at 12:31:38 to 12:43, as stated in your colleague's report, Dr. Welcher, the slide presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you know whether a lock event on an iPhone requires human interaction?
Danny, I got you covered here.
Typically, yes, it would.
Is it just typically, or does it?
Well, it does. And in this case specifically, I believe it was via the lock button.
Correct. But this specific instance, the lock, it requires somebody, a human being, to actually press a button on the side, correct?
Unless it's auto locking, yes, it requires a button press, yes.
Do you have any reason to believe that the iPhone of Mr. O'Keefe had an auto locking function on it, sir?
No, as I said, he used the lock button.
Right.
So
If we can enlarge that, do you see the end of
okay, yeah, the end of the whole event. So Annie, so here's the dealio. That is, let's just compare it to like one of the other experts. Oh, it doesn't have his CV. Hold on, let's find another one where we can do a. So that is that, to my understanding, it's par for the course. Let's just see as an example. Yeah. So see, this dude's not even involved in this trial, right? This other dude, he might actually be legit, not for X. So all this means, right, is because these dudes are hired as expert witnesses. Like if you want to hire them, right, like you have to go through all the steps, right? And then you'll get their actual CV, right? So this is just so that you can get an idea as for like their qualifications to decide to hire them. And then you would get their actual CV. And it's also not complete, obviously, right? So I looked at what you had on the Discord. So thank you for sending that. And what Annie had sent me was the PDFs of Shanon Burgess and Judd Welcher, which by the way, so here's Judd. So we'll take a look at some of his stuff too on one of the breaks. But yeah, what she had sent me was like, if you look at his CV, right, it says this, but all of them say that. So that's standard, and that's not related in any way to the fallout of the Shanon Burgess. Now, having said that, Shanon Burgess not being on the website anymore, 100%. Because like if you look at if you go just like to the main old like website, right, and you go to experts, like he's on the second row or third row or fourth row. There he is, fourth row. And the reason I'm saying that is because there's a ton of rows. Because you have to scroll all the way down, way down to get to Judd Welcher. He's like at the bottom. There he is. So again, so he's still on the website, but he doesn't have anything if you click on him. Oh wait, he's back up. You guys, I checked this right before I went live and it was an error 404 thing. Holy crap. What is going on? He was down. And he was down right before I went live because I literally, weird. I guess that's what it is. Okay, so they didn't take him down. Interesting. They did not take him down. There's his LinkedIn. Let's see if that's okay. That still doesn't exist. Interesting. So by the way, I will say, oops, I accidentally removed this. By the way, though, I will say, interestingly, so Judd Welcher here is the executive vice president. So this will be interesting, and we might get to him today, but we will talk more about him. I just wanted to follow up there on Happy Annie's question about the CVs. Hopefully she was able to hear that. And now we will go back to the testimony. Woo!
of health event, 36 steps that we talked yesterday that was covering a distance of over 84 feet. Do you see that occurring at 12:32:16 a.m.?
I don't believe we talked about that yesterday, but yes, I do see
Do you
that.
see it?
I do, yes.
And that's also after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 text stream event identified by your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, in his slide, correct?
Correct.
Now, finally, do you see the entry pocket state detected at 12:33:14 a.m.? You see that, sir?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you know what a pocket state is, sir?
I do know what a pocket state is.
Do you know when the pocket states occurred on the iPhone of John O'Keefe pursuant to your analysis of his phone?
I do not.
You didn't analyze pocket state detections on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
No, I did not personally.
Do you believe pocket state detected data? Well, let me just go back and confirm. So you didn't analyze with any source pocket state detection information with regard to Mr. O'Keefe's phone. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So let's go back and summarize for each of the ones you did look at and analyze that you just testified. Every single one of those that we just discussed, those user interaction events, occurred after Dr. Welcher claims a collision occurred as represented in a
And
text stream
that's it.
event of 11:62:2 at 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Objection.
Do you understand?
I don't know what that objection was for, but I was going to say this too. So initially, it seemed like they were trying to change the timeline because of the Wi-Fi timestamp, but sadly, they haven't even gotten to that yet. They're trying to change the timeline because of the fact that the user activity with the phone happened after Judd Welcher said the collision, which means that either somebody else was using his phone, but again, Ian Whiffen said that he had to unlock it and whatnot, right? So that means it's like proof of life, right? That John O'Keefe is using the phone, proof of life there. So then, I mean, either he's a ghost still using his phone, or the collision didn't happen with that. I mean, I mean, their timeline literally does not work. Even if they fudge it with this new information, like it still doesn't help them.
User interaction events occurred after Dr. Welcher claims a collision occurred as represented in a text stream event of 11:62:2 at 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Objection.
Do you understand? Let's, if we can go back, please, to Dr. Welcher's slide. Highlight the text again, please, Mr. Wolf.
I guess that was sustained due to asked and answered.
Do you understand that
No, because no grounds.
Dr. Welcher is correlating the infotainment trigger 11:62:2 with an alleged collision? Do you understand that?
Objection.
Let's come to sidebar, please.
Oh, and there's a sidebar. Sidebar. Do, 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 do. That fan go.
You can put it back. You can put it back up.
Thank you, Your Honor. If we could go now, Mr. Wolf, back to the slide from Dr. Welcher's slide presentation. And if you could re-enlarge the applicable section that we've had up before. Thanks for your patience,
Sure.
Mr.
Woke.
Burgess.
Mr. Woke is another one of the heroes of the file.
You
Gentleman.
have reviewed this slide and this specific data in this slide previously, correct?
Correct.
And I just want to, Mr. Wolk, just go back to the slide so we're clear on what this is. So this slide here is what you're speaking about, right?
Correct.
And you've reviewed this slide prior to your testimony in this court, correct?
Correct.
And you considered this slide as part of your analyses that you have performed and testified about, correct?
Yes, I have.
So now, Mr. Burgess, I'd like to ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
Every single one of the user interaction events that we talked about, steps, lock, etc., occurred after Dr. Welcher's, what he calls an infotainment event, which you call a text stream event, in the range of 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
I would agree that,
Okay.
yes,
I'm going to back it up. Here's why. So he has tried to ask this question a bazillion times. So now it's clear that the reason it was being objected to and or sustained, well, just, I guess sustained, was due to foundation. Because now he finally got the right, he got enough info in, so that was, he needed to lay more foundation. So now that answers that question.
Reviewed this slide prior to your testimony in this court, correct?
Correct.
And did you,
And a
and
bunch
you considered this slide as part of your analyses that you have performed and testified about, correct?
Yes, I have.
So now, Mr. Burgess, I'd like to ask you a question. Every single one of the user interaction events that we talked about, steps, lock, etc., occurred after Dr. Welcher's, what he calls an infotainment event, which you call a tech stream event, in the range of 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
I would agree that yes.
So the answer is yes?
With the caveat.
I'm sorry, I didn't know
Sorry.
you hadn't finished.
Sure.
Please finish your answer.
Yes, with the caveat that user interaction only applies to the device lock, steps, and the pocket state are not duplicative of user interaction per se.
Let's just assume that is the case. Let's then just focus on what you consider to be a user interaction, which is device lock, correct?
Correct.
And the device lock event that you agree is a user interaction, we could go back to that just so we have clarity. The lock event that you agree is a user interaction occurred at 12:32:09, according to Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
In that 12:32:09 time period, we could go back to Dr. Welcher, it is after the end of the text stream event dubbed as 11:62:2, correct?
Correct. According to
And that's
sorry.
26 seconds. I didn't finish my question. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
So go ahead, finish your question. Don't answer, Mr. Burgess, until the complete question.
In that event lock, even according to Dr. Welcher's own words in his own slide, occurs 20 seconds after the end of the text stream event 11:62:2,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
of the unadjusted clock. Yes.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, do you want the lights on, Mr. Leslie?
Turn the lights on.
My, to alter it, hopefully make it a little clearer. So according to
More clear.
Dr. Welcher, the licensed engineers, your colleague at Aperture, his slide that he has here, the last O'Keefe cell phone event, the lock, occurred within approximately 26 seconds after the end of the text stream event
Yeah.
dubbed 11:62:2. That's what's stated there, correct?
Correct. According to the unadjusted clock.
You keep adding according to the unadjusted clock. What does it do? The words according to the unadjusted clock appear anywhere in that slide, sir?
No, they do not.
Oh shit. Let's hear that again. Also, I just want to say that even if you adjust this stupid clock thing, you know what? It still doesn't explain how she got home in time or back to his house for that Wi-Fi. Like, in other words, regardless of whether you adjust the time or not, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
That's what's stated there, correct?
Correct. According to the unadjusted clock.
You keep adding according to the unadjusted clock. What does it do? The words according to the unadjusted clock appear anywhere in that slide, sir?
No, they do not.
Wow.
We can take that down and, with the court's permission, turn the lights back on, please. Yesterday, you stated that you reviewed a presentation by another expert, Mr. DeSogra, who reviewed the findings of your January 30th report. Do you recall that, sir?
Yes, I did.
In fact, in your May 8th, 2025 report, your second report, your first being the January 30th report, you only cite 2 new sources of data that you reviewed before making your conclusions, correct?
Correct.
I mean, I'm just thinking about this because the whole thing is like, remember the whole thing they said his iPhone runs fast, right? His iPhone runs fast. That there's still no facts and evidence to support that. That the jury hasn't heard that part yet specifically. That came out when they were arguing this. But it's like, why this is so bizarre to me is because they're trying to argue that both things are wrong, right? That his iPhone, well, again, this hasn't come out in front of the jury yet specifically, but what Brennan said, right, was the iPhone, his iPhone runs fast. And then there's also a variance in the text stream data. So you've got two unreliable sources of time. I mean, it's like, I was just thinking to myself, they would be better off trying to argue that only one of them was off, right? Like if they were trying to say that, again, it's impossible. I don't know how this would be possible, but in a hypothetical situation, let's just say that only the iPhone was off. The iPhone was fast and it was always 12 minutes faster, whatever it is, right? Then they can say, okay, it's always X amount fast. And then you go ahead and subtract it, right? And now it's easy, right? Because it's like, now we've accounted for that. Just like they do whenever we watch the surveillance cameras and those timestamps are off, they know how much it's off and then they just make the adjustment. And I was just thinking, because it's like here, what made me think of that?
According to the unadjusted clock appear anywhere in that slide, sir?
No, they do not.
We can take that down and with the court's permission, turn the lights back on, please. Yesterday, you stated that you reviewed a presentation by another expert, Mr. DeSogra, who...
Okay, well, so I don't know what made me think of that. I guess because this is just all so confusing. And I'm looking at all my notes here and it's just like, this shouldn't be this hard.
The findings of your January 30th report. Do you recall that, sir?
Yes, I do.
In fact, in your May 8, 2025 report, your second report, your first being the January 30th report.
And of all of the things, right, the phone should be the reliable thing. That's why this is annoying. Like, I understand if you're like, yeah, we lost data and the chip on and the chip off and we didn't get this or that and we're not sure. Like, again, it's like, okay, that's fine if you're going to be like, we're not really sure about the Lexus timestamp. Fine. Again, the Lexus internal clock, to me, the thing that makes sense is, right, we all know you set those times, right, in your car. You set the time yourself. So if anything, the phone should be the accurate thing. That's why this is so problematic. Because if you, and that's what the Commonwealth, that's where they have a problem, them being Commonwealth, right? Because if the phone being the accurate thing that can't possibly be wrong, unless they prove otherwise, which would blow my mind, right? Those timestamps about when he locked the phone and the health data and all that, unlocking it with his face, etc. That's your unmovable. That's not in dispute, right? It's like, at least not as far as the time goes. Now, maybe the location and the temperature and all, fine. But in terms of the timestamp, like we need timestamps, we need at least one that's reliable. It's like, that's the phone. So anyway, I promise, rant over, okay.
You only cite 2 new sources of data that you reviewed before making your conclusions, correct?
Correct.
We have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Approaching.
May I proceed, Your Honor, and approach the witness?
Yes.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Burgess.
Sure.
I'm going to present to you 2 documents, each of which is marked for identification. The first is Exhibit CCC for identification. That is
I think what he's
one
doing on those sides.
slide out of what
No, remember how she said she was going to give him a wider latitude on cross, and she has, I guess, more than she normally would. I think what he's doing is approaching before he goes to present these documents out, like, in other words, how sometimes like that's like the right thing to do, right? Like approach ahead of time, and that way, if there's any issues, you can have them sorted out. I think that's smart of him because he's being given a little bit of a wider girth, whatever, latitude. We'll just say that again. Imagine if the state had to pre-register their objections. I know. Well, I mean, it is normal, if that's a reference to Idaho, it is normal for parties to work out what they can ahead of time, right? What's going to be objected to. And I mean, they can't do that for everything, but like there's some stuff that, you know, it comes up all the time, by the way, in Casey Anthony, because Judge Belvin really gets all up in a ruckus whenever they've apparently agreed to something and then shocker in trial when it comes time, they don't agree, right? Again, I actually do agree with what Judge Hippler said, which is get your stipulations in writing. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I mean, the thing is like the Commonwealth's objections are imaginary in this trial because they don't have to ever state their grounds. So they couldn't put them in writing, even if they had to.
It is marked as Exhibit DDD for identification.
Yeah,
And
he's still asking
Exhibit
permission.
CCC is one page out of Exhibit DDD for
I mean,
identification.
I think it's out
And
of
I'd ask you, sir, to
the
take
court.
a look
No,
at
even though she doesn't deserve it. I think that's
those documents and reference either one.
room.
And please let me know, sir, when you've had a fair opportunity to review those documents so I can proceed with questions about them.
Sure. Okay.
Sir, can you please read the exhibit designation on the entire slide presentation?
On DDD,
Pardon me?
on Exhibit DDD.
And that's
Triple D.
triple D as in David.
Correct.
Triple D.
So in Exhibit DDD, is that the March 5, 2005 PowerPoint presentation of Mr. DeSogra that you spoke about extensively yesterday?
Yes, it is.
And sir, before you came to court yesterday, did you review and consider the Exhibit DDD for identification?
Yes, I did.
And as a matter of fact, you spent considerable time with regard to Exhibit DDD before you came to court yesterday.
Correct.
And in addition, isn't it the case that your testimony yesterday
Whoa.
is that Exhibit D
What is she doing with her hand? Watch her hand. What is she doing with her hand? Hold on. Watch. What is she doing with her hand? Weird things are happening with her hand.
PowerPoint presentation
Judge
of
Best.
Mr. DeSogra that you spoke about extensively yesterday?
Yes, it is.
And sir, before you came to court yesterday, did you review and consider the Exhibit DDD for identification?
Yes, I did.
And as a matter of fact, you spent considerable time with regard to Exhibit DDD before you came to court yesterday.
I was literally
Correct.
thinking triple.
And in
X for her,
addition,
and I was like, are we going to get?
isn't it the
There's-
case that
There's her hand. Yeah, I was literally thinking, are we going to get to triple X at some point in this trial? Probably. Watch her hand.
court yesterday?
Correct.
And in addition, isn't it the case that your testimony yesterday is that Exhibit
What the fuck is that? Puppetry? What is she doing? I have never ever seen anything like that in my life.
you came to court
What
yesterday?
the hell is that?
Correct.
And in addition, isn't it the case that your testimony yesterday
It's
is
almost like the type of gesture you'd make if you're talking to somebody, but she's not going to be talking to somebody during testimony. That doesn't happen. What is going on? I mean, I just
D before you came to court yesterday?
weird.
Correct.
And in addition, isn't it the case that your testimony yesterday is that Exhibit D
Is she talking to herself in her head? It almost could look too like she's like flicking water off her hand, like, you know, if you go wash your hands and there's no paper towels, but there's no way that that's happening. Because why would her hands be wet in the middle of testimony?
came to court yesterday?
Correct.
And in addition, isn't it the case that
Oh, maybe.
your testimony yesterday is that Exhibit DDD, the March 5, 2025 slide presentation of Mr. DeSogra, was part of the reason why you created your May 8th, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Annie could be right. It could be something like that. See, I would never have known that. That's why you guys are awesome. I would never have known
Your
that.
Honor, I offer exhibit exhibit
Oh,
CCC
Triple C.
into evidence,
Triple
and
C.
do not offer exhibit DDD at
Oh.
this time.
Okay, the witness just spoke of DDD, so why don't you have him just say what CCC is before we put it in?
I will do so, Your Honor. Thank you. Mr. Burgess, is exhibit CCC a slide page out of exhibit DDD?
Yes, it is.
Okay, now it'll.
Great.
Thank you for that, Your Honor. I now offer exhibit CCC for identification into evidence.
Yes.
Thank you. And I also hand back to Madam Court Reporter exhibit DDD for identification.
Exhibit 190?
I haven't seen her do that with her.
And sir, do you have
Could be doing it below the level, like the shelfie dindle thing, to where we can't see it. But I've not. I mean, or the camera's just not showing her. But yeah, I mean, that was very much right there.
before you read the three letters, please, just so we're on the same page in that exhibit?
Do you need the
That
other
the
one?
one that's in
Thank you.
the one page?
Yes. Exhibit 190?
And that's the entitled All Possible Combinations?
Yes, it is.
So we'll refer to that as exhibit 190, okay?
Okay.
Have you had a fair opportunity to refresh yourself on that one-page chart?
Yes, I have.
Your Honor, may I please publish exhibit 190?
Yes.
Here we
And
go.
if we could enlarge it
Publish it.
without, I think,
Publish it.
Mr. Wolk, we can obscure for the moment the all positive on the right and come back to that as needed. Thank you. Now, Mr. DeSogra, who is an expert for the defense, took the data points you evaluated in your January 30, 2025 report and simply performed the last step in your analysis that I was referring to in previous slides, correct?
Oh, the final step.
Correct. For a lot of data points that do not apply for the time of the accident.
I understand you may have a view as to whether they apply or not. I'm just trying to understand what you understood he did.
Again,
I'll
we'll-
repeat that. Yes,
so
Your
we'll
Honor.
strike the comment part and just a
I'll
question,
repeat and
please.
just go to the question. So you understand that Mr. DeSogra took the data points that you evaluated in your January 30, 2025 report and simply performed the last step in your analysis, correct?
In my report, in addition to Dr. Welcher's.
Right. In addition to that.
Correct.
Now, what I want to do is just elucidate the columns and their meaning. So the column on the right equals the number of seconds, and it's the far right, the number of seconds between the end of the 11:62:2 text stream event that in the slide of Dr. Welcher is ending at 12:31:43 and the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone that's occurred at 12:32:09, correct?
Correct.
And that's your understanding of that column as well.
Correct.
Now, even taking your colleague Dr. Welcher's assumption that the last user interaction on Mr. O'Keefe's phone occurred at 12:32:09 a.m. on January 29, 2022, is Mr. DeSogra demonstrating in this chart that by using the clock variance that you calculated in your January 30 report, there are no circumstances where the trigger event of 11:62:2 occurs before the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
After.
Sustain, there's one part of your question that needs to
Okay.
be omitted.
In terms of this chart, do you agree that the methodology and application of it of Mr. DeSogra is that Mr. DeSogra took the last user interaction data point of Dr. Welcher in his slide of 12:32:09 and applied the clock variance that you calculated in your January 30th report? Do you agree that that's what Mr. DeSogra did?
No, I do not.
What do you believe Mr. DeSogra did here?
Well, so the math is correct. So when he's trying to adjust clock variances
May I
between the two devices,
guys?
that math is correct, but he's applying incorrect adjustments.
I understand, but what I'm trying to get at is just what you understood Mr. DeSogra did in this chart.
Correct. I did understand, yes, what he
Okay.
was trying to do.
And so do you agree, based upon what Mr. DeSogra did as represented in this chart, there are no circumstances where the 1162.2 text stream event occurs? Well, let me have you describe what you believe Mr. DeSogra is doing with regard to comparing, based upon this chart, the 1162.2 text stream event of Dr. Welcher with the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone.
Sure. So he's trying to adjust the clock from the Lexus to the Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone clock, but he does that inaccurately.
Well, I understand you have I understand your comment, but my question, sir, is this. What do you understand Mr. DeSogra is doing with regard to this chart? Do you understand what he is doing in this chart?
Correct.
I'd just like you to state what it is you understand he is doing.
And if that's what he's doing, that makes sense. Because like I said, right, between the two of them, you need one that is the stable time, and that's got to be the iPhone. It just doesn't make, you can't tell me that the iPhone timestamp is not correct. And again, that's not been put in front of the jury, but Hank said it in the hearing last week.
So he's trying to adjust timestamps.
He's trying to adjust timestamps. In adjusting timestamps, do you agree that Mr. DeSogra makes the point with this chart that there are no circumstances where the 1162 trigger occurs before the lock event on John O'Keefe's phone?
Sustained.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Do you understand that what Mr. DeSogra is doing in this chart is he is showing numerically and arithmetically that there are no circumstances where the text stream event 1162.2 occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it in that form.
So yes, I understand he's trying to show that.
Right. Well, he did more than try. Isn't that what by his math, that he is demonstrating?
I'm going to allow that.
Yes, but it is inaccurate.
I understand. But that's,
Oh my
again, the question is that what he demonstrates using this chart?
So
Yes.
basically,
And would he
I wanna
demonstrate?
reiterate that what this would be a classic battle of the experts, but for this dude being one of the experts, quote unquote.
Is that Mr. DeSogra demonstrates that there are no circumstances where the 1162.2 trigger event occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Yes, inaccurately.
So I'm asking what Mr. DeSogra demonstrates in this report, and isn't it correct that Mr. DeSogra, using this math, Mr. DeSogra demonstrates and concludes that there are no circumstances where the 1162.2 text stream event occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that. Does that demonstrate that?
Yes, inaccurately.
Okay.
So let's.
I'm going to move on, Your Honor. I'm going to move on. And this methodology and approach of Mr. DeSogra is simply math that he's using, correct?
No, it's not simply math.
Well, let's go to the clock variance values in the middle column on that chart. You see that, sir?
Yes, I do.
Those are, as of March 5 of the date of this column was created, nothing in that middle column is new, is it? That data.
Yes, some of that data is new.
Well, the source data upon which it is created is not new, is it?
No, it is not.
All right. So the source data of that column, it's not new.
Correct.
And the middle column uses your data points from your January 30th report, correct?
No, not all of those are.
But it does use some of the data from your January 30 report, correct?
Yes, it does.
Is the reason that you did not take that final analytical step that we've been talking about in your January 30th report, and this is a question, is the reason you failed to take that final analytical final analytic step we've been talking about in your January 30 report was because you knew if you did that if you calculated the actual time of the 1162-2 text stream event based upon your own methodological analysis of the clock skew, there would always be continued interaction on Mr. O'Keefe's phone after the text stream event.
No.
So you deny that?
Yes.
Did you keep your January 30, 2025 report purposefully vague by merely noting a clock skew without engaging in any further analysis, such as tethering that clock skew or otherwise connecting it to the text stream event in Dr. Welcher's slide presentation?
No, I did not.
Switch to another topic. Take that down. Thank you, Mr. Gold. After reviewing, and I'm going to identify 3 timelines. After reviewing the timelines, the timelines presented by Dr. Welcher, 1, Mr. DeSogra, 2, and Mr. Ian Whiffen, 3, all of which established that the 1162-2 text stream event occurred before that last user activity, the lock on Mr. O'Keefe's phone. You then decided to issue a new report that would become dated May 8, 2025, correct?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
No, so I issued the supplemental report based on that presentation that you just had up.
Well, before you issued that report, isn't it correct that you had reviewed the time data of Dr. Welcher in the slide that we were reviewing?
Not before that time, no.
You had not looked at Dr. Welcher's slide with a text stream event 1162-2 and a time for that before issuing your May 8th report?
No, yes, before misheard you. Yes.
That's my question.
Yes.
So let me just ask it through a question.
Sure.
So it is correct that before you issued your May 8th, 2025 report, that you had reviewed that slide of your colleague, Dr. Welcher, on 1162-2 that establishes the text stream event as 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Correct.
You reviewed it before your May 8th report.
Yes.
You
yes.
also reviewed before your May 8th report the slide presentation of Mr. DeSogra, correct?
Yes, I did.
And before you issued your May 8th, 2025 report, you also had reviewed the January 2025 report of Mr. Whiffen, correct?
Correct.
Each one of and all of those 3 established that the 1162-2 text stream event occurred before the last user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
I'm going to allow it if that's what, let's hear the answers.
Using either unadjusted timestamps or inaccurately adjusted timestamps, yes.
Let me ask my question again, and if it's not clear, please let me know.
Sure.
After reviewing what we've discussed, prepared by Dr. Welcher, Mr. DeSogra, and Ian Whiffen, each and all of which established that the 1162-2 text stream event occurred before the last user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, you then decided to issue a new report that would become dated May 8th, 2025. Is that statement I just made correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Now let's take a look at your May 8th, 2025 report.
Oh boy, here we go.
You departed in your May 8th, 2000. Do you have that report in
I
front
do,
of you?
yes.
Do you need a moment to look at it, or are you ready to take
No,
questions?
go ahead.
Thank you. You departed from your analysis. Let's start it this way. In this May 8th, 2025 report, you departed from your analysis in your January 2025 report to reach a conclusion that would attempt to put the 1162-2 text stream event after human interaction with Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
No, I did not depart from my original report. I clarified.
Okay, so you didn't depart from it, but you, in your May 8th report, but your position is you clarified it.
Correct.
But isn't it correct that in your January 30, 2025 report, you did not address at all whether the 1162.2 text stream event occurred before or after the last user event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
But you did that in your May 8th report, correct?
Correct.
You don't call that a change, sir?
No, sir, I do not.
You call that a clarification.
I do.
In your January 2025 report, you compared call log entries between the infotainment system on the Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone to determine a potential variance, correct?
Correct.
And call logs are discrete points in time that are fairly easy to compare.
Correct.
Now, in your May 8th, 2025 report, you abandoned the call log analysis from your January 30th, 2025 report, correct?
No, I did not abandon it.
But you did depart from it, at least in some respects, correct?
I did not depart from it. I used another method.
Okay. So you used another method.
Correct.
In your May 8th, 2025 report, you opined, as I understand it, that the call log variance has been ignored because, in your words, this offset is measured approximately 5 hours after the time of the alleged collision and cannot be assumed to apply to other timeframes as stated in the initial report. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Now, please show the juror, in your January 30 report, where you ever made that statement.
Bro. It does seem that way, Candace, which is wild.
Sure. So that would, it's not worded exactly like that, but that would be in conclusion 5.
And conclusion number 5 is on page 37 of your January 30, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
And you concede at least as much that at least different words are used in paragraph 5 in your January 30th, 2025 report, correct? And your position is that it's the same statement as in your May 8th, 2025 report? Because that's my question.
That is correct.
In your May 8th, 2025 report, instead of applying the offsets from the call logs, which are discrete points in time that are fairly easy to compare, as you stated just moments ago, you decided to use, in your words, quote, approximate time of the 3-point turn as your anchor between the two devices. Do I have that right?
Yes, you did.
Isn't what you did and we just discussed a classic example of confirmation bias, which is to be avoided in science?
No, it is not.
So you believe that that is not confirmation bias?
No.
Choosing the 3-point turn as the independent data source is the only way you could ever get the text stream event to even possibly occur after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
That adjustment is the only adjustment that can be applied due to the data. Yes.
And that adjustment is the only thing that can be done to get the text stream event 1162.2 to occur after the lock on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
And that only one is the one that you chose, correct?
Correct.
So that
And that's
wait. Is this saying then that by changing this is this saying that then John O'Keefe was still in the car when she made the 3-point turn? Is that the implication of this?
only because it's not a pinpoint in time. It's an amorphous range that can only, in your words, be approximated, correct?
No, that is because it is the only time adjustment in that time range that can be applied.
So it's your view that that's the only one that can be applied, but it is even what you're using is, in your words, an approximate time, correct?
Correct.
Isn't the shortcoming, sir, in your analysis that you ignored the additional user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's device that occurred after the lock event? Yes, I can. Isn't the shortcoming in your analysis, sir, that your analysis ignores the additional user activity on John O'Keefe's device, his cell phone, that occurred after the lock event?
No.
Well, let's take a look at events that, you tell me if I'm correct or not, occur after the text stream event 1162.2.
Sure.
So do you recall our discussion yesterday about the Apple Health data event of 36 steps covering a distance of over 84 feet? Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall that that occurred at 12:32:16?
Yes, I do.
And that's after the text stream event of
Cor-
Dr. Welcher that he put in his slide, correct?
Correct.
Do you also recall a Doppler pocket state detection at 12:33:14? Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And that is almost an entire minute after the 1162.2 text stream event that is identified by your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, in his slide presentation, correct?
Correct. And neither one of those are user interaction.
I understand but let's just take one of them.
Sure.
And that is the Apple Health data event of 36 steps covering a distance of 84 feet at 12:32:16. Would you agree that those steps covering that distance is human activity at least? Would you agree that's human activity?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's take a look at opinion number 7 in your initial January 30th, 2025 report. And sir, tell me when you had a fair opportunity to look at that.
Okay.
You concluded to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty that, quote, the infotainment module power on events were on average recorded 3 seconds after the ignition release or finger off, correct?
Correct.
That means that your own testing requires an offset of -3 to account for a delay in the power on of an infotainment system, correct?
Correct.
That increases the time between the text stream event 1162.2 and the iPhone lock event by 3 seconds, correct?
Correct.
You testified about this same 3-second discrepancy yesterday during your direct examination in connection with your January 30, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
However, you did not mention this offset of 3 seconds in your May 8th, 2025 report, did you?
No, I did not. Can I explain?
Mr. Brennan may have questions for you with regard to that. So nowhere in your May 8th, 2025 report did you
That's a
include
redirect is
the
for you.
3-second offset that you discussed in your January 30, 2025 report, did you?
Correct.
And in fact, sir, nowhere in your May 8th report do you even discuss why you're not addressing that 3-second, do you?
I do not discuss it, but it is that offset is adjusted within the adjustment that we do with the 3-point turn.
I understand. My question is simply, there's no discussion in your May 8th, 2025 report how or why you're not discussing that 3-second offset, correct?
Correct.
I've got a next section, Your Honor, if you would like me to move into it.
So why don't we keep going?
Keep going.
Sir, a text stream data event like 1162.2 does not, well, let me back up this way. You testified on direct that you're involved in accident reconstruction. That's part of the work that you do, sir?
No, that is not part of the work that I do.
Well, let me clarify then. Do you at all understand whether there's an issue as to whether a collision actually occurred in this case? Do you understand if that's an issue?
Objection.
Sustained.
Sir, do you have any understanding about what Dr. Welcher in his slide presentation was addressing in context with this case? Do you understand it?
Objection.
I'll allow a yes or no.
No, I do not.
So you have no idea what your colleague, Dr. Welcher, who's working on the same case, was addressing in his slide presentation?
Generally, yes, but I cannot speak to it.
What do you generally understand?
Objection.
Sustained.
What understanding do you have after reading Dr. Welcher's slide presentation?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it to.
Do
Sustained.
you have any understanding? Can we approach your honor?
Sure.
There you go, Heather. That was the fun surprise, wasn't it? See, we had the lollybird. We had a lollybird surprise. No warning, just a lollybird surprise. And we had a five-o. They're coming for you, five-o. Okay. By the way, we do have some new Adelson filings we will get to. Speaking of which, good time to mention that if I recall, so they either don't have court on Thursday or Friday, or it's just like a half day on Thursday. Sorry, half day, and then no court on Friday. And you know, it's like the holiday weekend or whatever. So it's going to be a good time to do a number of things. One of the things is Carla had reminded me that it would be nice to do like a thing about like the overlaps between this case and Sandra Birchmore, and other of you in the Scroll Crew have mentioned or asked about that. So that's something we might also be able to delve into, along with catching up on some of these other cases. So, Twiz, who's JJ? There he approached. Dee. Who's JJ? I mean, John Judge. Judge.
Yeah, proceed, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Burgess. I would like to go back to the line of questioning I was starting, and that is I would like to discuss with you, and I'll start with your conclusion, and I'm going to reference your May 8th, 2025 report, sir. If you could turn to the conclusion section of your report, which is on page 7. And I'm going to start with, and I may just end with, we'll see conclusion number 1. Please take a fair opportunity to read that. Pick your head up when you have concluded that fair reading.
Okay.
Now, that paragraph 1 states, under conclusions, you say the following can be stated to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. 1, as noted in my initial report, the only call logs that can be used to compare and synchronize the clocks between Ms. Reed's Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone are those occurring between 5:21 a.m. and 5:30 a.m., which occur approximately 5 hours after the collision. Do you see that, sir?
I do, yes.
Now, what I'd like you to do is to go back in your report.
Same report?
Yes, sir, same report, May 8th. And I'd like you to turn to page 3.
Okay.
And if you could go to the 4th full paragraph that begins with 2 events near the time. And let me know, sir, when you're there. And if you could read that paragraph, pick your head up after you've had a fair opportunity to read it.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, you state 2 events near the time of the collision were recorded by the Lexus system as identified by Dr. Welcher and referenced by Mr. DeSogra. The first event, labeled text stream event 1162-1, is associated with a 3-point turn on Cedar Crest Road. The second event, labeled text stream event 1162-2, is associated with a reverse maneuver on Fairview Road. These events will be referenced below for clock synchronization analysis. The timestamps associated with these two events are based on a combination of the Lexus infotainment power on event and text stream time count. Did I read that correctly, sir?
Yes, you did.
So in the same paragraph, am I correct that you're discussing a couple of text stream events, 1162-1 and 1162-2?
Yes,
And you are talking about that text stream event in the same paragraph as you're talking about an alleged collision, correct?
correct.
And in your paragraph of your conclusion that we were referencing, conclusion 1, is this paragraph part of the basis for that conclusion 1? Is this sort of like some predicate analysis for conclusion number 1?
No, it is not.
So it has no, your view, it has no relationship whatsoever to conclusion 1.
No, correct.
So let's go to your discussion of a collision and a text stream event. Let's go back to paragraph 3. You see, you mentioned the word collision in paragraph 3, correct?
I do not.
Where are
I'm
you?
sorry, I just had paragraph 3. I meant page 3, sir. Page
Yes,
3.
page 3. Yes.
Page 3, that paragraph we were just looking at, paragraph 4.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I do say
Do you see
collision.
the word, use of the word collision?
Yes,
And again, that term is used in the same paragraph as you're identifying text stream events 1162-1 and 1162-2, correct?
correct.
Where did you get the basis to use the word collision at that part of your report?
That would have been from crash reports,
And whose crash reports?
the Massachusetts State Police.
So you used Massachusetts State Police reports to discuss allegations of a crash, collision.
Yes.
Do you state anywhere in your May 8th
I knew this was
report
going to come back up. This came up a little bit yesterday.
that you used those reports at all? Do you list it in your references?
No, not in this report. No.
And as a matter of fact, this is the first time, right this previous moment, that you are mentioning those reports at all, correct?
No, those were mentioned in my initial report.
But I'm talking about your May 8th report.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Okay. Your statements, and I want to clarify this because this is the ultimate topic I want to go to. It is not your conclusion that every text stream data event means that there is a collision. Do you, sir?
No, that is not my conclusion.
So isn't it correct that you can have text stream events and they're not collisions?
Yes, you can.
And isn't it a fact that a text stream event, sometimes called a trigger event, is not like an airbag type deploying, correct? They're just, and we're going to get to this later, it's just something that happens with a Lexus vehicle that can cause the vehicle to register a text stream event, correct?
Correct.
And
And as
some
Judd Welcher put it, apparently an infotainment event.
people refer to text stream event as a trigger, correct?
Correct.
Like
But there's many things that can happen with a vehicle that can cause a trigger, correct?
Correct.
We will come back to that. So you would agree, again, that a text stream trigger event does not mean that there was a collision, correct?
Correct.
A text stream data event doesn't mean that airbags were deployed, correct?
Correct.
A trigger data event doesn't mean that there was a vehicle impact, correct?
By itself, no.
By itself,
No,
it
and
doesn't
that's a
mean.
good question because we learned yesterday that the module for the thing, something he was relying on for the Lexus time, he said was stored in the same module as the airbag module. So that was a good follow-up question there.
Correct.
Correct.
A text stream data event merely refers to Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from applications databases and not devices and transporting that data for immediate processing and storage or for real-time analysis and analytics reporting, correct?
I don't think I understand your question. If you could rephrase.
Sure. A text stream event merely refers to Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from applications and databases. Is that correct?
I would not call it applications and databases, no.
What would you call it?
So from various sensors or other modules on the vehicle.
Okay, so
Sure.
it's Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from various sensors and modules on the vehicle, right?
Correct.
Why don't we stop here, Mr. Lessie?
Yes.
Okay, folks, we'll take our morning recess, so it's 20 minutes.
All rise, please.
Okay, so let's see. We might actually have enough room to catch on up. Moving on up. Do. Let's see if we go live. Ah, still on break. That is funny, Twiz. She's flat. It's flattened. Like here. Okay, so they might be back here in just a second. So while they're doing that, I got a couple little things to show y'all real quick. We have two very small, they're so small that by small, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to them that I'm not going to do a whole live stream. But for Idaho, just to show y'all real quick, we have, first of all, and this fan will stay running in the background, so don't worry there, guys. We have the order sealing defendants offer of proof, alternate perpetrators. So that's all it is. But basically, we know there's been an offer of proof made. Okay, that's one. And then the second one is this one. So notice of hearing. So this is for tomorrow. Notice of hearing, discussion regarding the role of victims sealed. And it'll be over Zoom tomorrow at 10 a.m. Role of victims. So your guess is as good as mine as to who he's referencing, because we know that he's called, well, he as in the judge, and then I guess also the state, they've called the surviving roommates victims. But are these, like, which victims are we talking about? We don't know. Discussion regarding the role of victims. So that's interesting. Did you not know that, Twiz? Did you really not know that? If you click live, it takes you live. Oh yeah. So those are the two new filings, and then we have oh, they're back. Never mind. We'll save that for the next one. Yeah, all you have to do is click the live and it takes you live, people. Y'all know also you can move and do things with the subtitles, right?
Court is back in session. You may be seated.
Like y'all will see me move them, but you can also edit the font and all this other stuff. Kind of crazy.
All right, Mr. Lessie, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Lass
Burgess?
said.
I'm going to pick up, sir, where we left off.
You. No. No.
A text stream trigger event does not automatically mean there was a collision, correct?
Correct.
A text stream data event doesn't, without more, mean an airbag deployed, correct?
Correct.
A trigger data event doesn't mean, without more, that there was a vehicle impact, correct?
Correct.
A text stream data event merely refers to Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from applications in databases, correct?
Sensors and other modules.
That's
on the
right.
vehicle.
You
Correct.
said that earlier, sir.
Sure.
Sensors and modules.
We
You
match your tie with your shirt.
reviewed the raw text stream trigger events on Miss Reed's vehicle, correct?
No, I did not.
Oh, you did not?
No.
Do you understand whether Do you have an understanding whether Mr. DeSogra reviewed those events in his March 5, 2025 report?
I do not.
So you did not review the raw data for text stream trigger events on Ms. Reed's vehicle, and you did not therefore perform any analysis of that data as you sit here today, correct?
Correct. Outside of what Dr. Welcher provided.
Are you aware that there were approximately 30 text stream trigger events in an 8-month period on Ms. Reed's vehicle?
No, I'm not.
Assume the data shows that in the mere 8-month period that Ms. Reed owned her vehicle, the Lexus in question, there were 30 text stream trigger events. Assume that. You would not conclude that there were 30 collisions in that 8-month period, would you?
No, I would not.
Would you agree, sir, that there were actually 2 triggers on January 29th?
Yes.
And the
That was-
first
That was a
trigger
great question right there.
that you
That was a great
referred to
question
of
right there.
1162-1, that was not a collision, was it, sir?
Without reviewing the data, I don't know.
Should we watch his interview?
Well, as you
live?
sit here today, you have no basis to state that the 1162-1 trigger was a collision, do you?
No, I do not.
And in fact, didn't you refer to that as a 3-point turn?
I did, yes.
And you didn't mention in your direct
He hit him, what was it, 30 times in the past 8 months? You ran over him 30 times in 8 months.
testimony when you talked about the 3-point turn anything about a collision, did you?
No, I did not.
And as you sit here today, there's no fact or data that you have to conclude that there was any supposed collision associated with that 1162-1 3-point turn trigger event, correct?
Correct.
A trigger event can occur on a Lexus vehicle by a whole host of possibilities, correct?
Correct.
You could maybe slam on the brakes and cause a trigger event.
That is one possibility.
You could have just unusual driving. You could be going at a speed or doing something else that has nothing at all to do with a collision, correct?
That is correct.
And in fact, there are almost countless events that can occur that can cause a trigger event in a Lexus vehicle.
So I don't know the exact count of what type of triggers there are, but yes, there are
There are
a
many.
number. Yes.
So back to the 1162-1 3-point turn trigger event. On your direct examination, you just referred to event surrounding that as a 3-point turn, correct?
Correct.
And yet that 3-point turn registered as a trigger event, right?
Correct.
Are Lexus SUVs trigger happy?
I do not know, sir.
As you sit here today, none of the information in that black box that you referred to on your direct testimony indicates that there was a collision on January 29th, does it?
Not by itself. no.
Not by itself.
Correct.
And it doesn't occur that none of the information in that black box indicates that there was a collision on any day without more, correct?
Correct.
I'd like to now turn to a different topic, sir. In your direct examination, you referenced a Miss Maggie Gaffney. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And was it part of your reference to her a criticism of her for some of the work that she did with respect to the Lexus SUV?
Yes, it was.
And for instance, you criticized her for failing to extract the micro SD card from the circuit board during the initial chip off, right?
So sure. So I did criticize for not identifying the micro SD card and subsequently not downloading it. Yes.
And on direct, you even tried to lay at her footsteps, if you will, your bits bytes misinterpretation on her by claiming that you assumed, quote, a competent expert, close quote, would not have overlooked a relevant chip. So you became confused how there could be data missing. Is that a fair characterization?
No, it is not.
Did you at all try to use as a justification for your misunderstanding of bits and bytes that it was her work?
Her word? you
Her
say?
work.
Her work.
Yes, her work.
So it was the, overlooking of the SD card. Yes.
Right. So you did try to lay at her footsteps part of the reason why you misinterpreted the bits and bytes that we discussed yesterday. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct.
Okay. So you would agree then that the bits and bytes misinterpretation that you and I discussed yesterday had nothing to do with the work of Miss Gaffney, correct?
So in part, but that was my mistake. Yes.
All right.
Imagine that.
I'm trying to understand which is it. Is it Miss Gaffney's work had some part in your misinterpretation of bits and bytes, or her work had no part in your misinterpretation of bits and bytes?
Some part.
So you do attempt to lay some blame on Miss Gaffney.
Oh
for-
God! Just like he tried to blame Aperture for his CV and all the rest. I mean, he's wow.
your misinterpretation of bits and bytes, correct?
No, I'm not trying to blame anyone.
Okay. In your January 30, 2025 report, are you consistent with your criticism of Miss Gaffney?
As I recall, yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Uh-oh. Impeached.
In fact, you yourself provided the explanation for why the micro SD card was not extracted during the original chip off, didn't you?
Yes, that it was overlooked.
Right.
Yes.
So if you could please turn to page 5 of your January 30, 2025 report.
Okay.
And sir, when you get there, if you could let me know, and I will then proceed
Where's
with
that?
questions.
Wait, hold on.
If you could let me know.
What finger is that? How many fingers did he got? He got weird
And sir, when
fingers? Hold on. Wait, no, that's no, that is see what I mean though? It's like quite obvious. But also, why does this tie match his shirt?
And sir, when you get there, if you could let me know, and I will then proceed with questions.
Okay.
I mean, I was trying to count the fingers and I was like, maybe there's finger drift. Yay!
So you do attribute to Ms. Gaffney in your report some responsibility for this micro SD card not being extracted during the original chip off. Is that correct?
Yes.
So let's go to page 5 of your report, sir. And bear with me, I want to get you the exact
Unless you get a
location.
blunt force trauma binder, if I don't say so myself. Mr. borrowed took a whatchamacallit, took a line from Wendy Adelson. What's the saying?
I don't have it exactly, but I want to
No.
quote it. Well, Your Honor, may I have a moment to
Hold
get
on,
the
Wendy
exact quote?
Adelson.
Sure.
Thank you.
You've got a little bit of room. Get the whole team involved. Oh, we're live. We're live. We're live.
Thank you for that, Your Honor. I now have it.
You go,
Mr.
George.
Burgess, if you could turn to page 5, as I was referencing, and go to the third full paragraph. If you could look about 2/3 of the way down the far right, you see the word where it starts with "at." It's the paragraph beginning "when examining vehicle
Yes,
systems."
I
You see
do.
that,
Yes,
sir?
I see it.
And do you see the "at" that is at the very far right of that paragraph?
Yes.
So it says, at the time of the incident, Burla, and Burla is what? Can you read?
Burla is a company that offers and develops forensic hardware and software for vehicle modules.
Right. So at the time of the incident, Burla did not offer support for the infotainment and telematics modules removed from the Lexus, but have since released updated software indicating similar modules are supported via in-vehicle acquisition. According to Burla, currently, there are 2 known and documented modules within the vehicle that have the capability to store data. The infotainment module removed from Ms. Reed's Lexus is consistent with the MMU documented by Burla and has been identified as containing an internal micro SD card not acquired during the initial chip-off acquisition by Ms. Gaffney. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
So as you stated, Burla is the organization that you described, which for the purpose you did, I'm not going to repeat it on direct examination. If I could sort of put in layman's terms and see, you tell me if this is correct. Burla produces hardware and software to make it easier for non-technical people, as you put it, to extract data from a vehicle, correct?
Correct.
You describe in your January 30, 2025 report that at the time of the initial chip-off, Burla did not provide support for the information contained on the micro SD card, correct?
No, so I think you're misreading that last sentence, and I can clarify.
Can you read the last sentence, sir?
I can. So the infotainment module removed from Ms. Reed's Lexus is consistent with the MMU documented by Burla and has been identified as containing an internal micro SD card not acquired during the initial chip-off acquisition by Ms. Gaffney.
So my question is, did or did not Burla, at the time of the initial chip-off by Ms. Gaffney, provide the technical support?
I just have to say, because it's driving me crazy. Every time they say Burla, for whatever reason, sounds to me like a fancy lingerie company. I just have to, like, every time they say Burla, I'm like, it's just so funny because it doesn't sound like, I don't know. That's what my brain conjures up. Anyway, there
To
you go.
address the information contained on the micro SD card.
No, Burla did not and does not.
Good. That I wanted to.
That was my identifier
Right,
of the micro SD
understood.
card. Correct.
So it was not until after the initial chip-off that Ms. Gaffney participated in that Burla updated their software to be able to identify the types of data, for Burla software to be able to identify the types of data contained within the micro SD card on the Lexus circuit board. Is that correct?
No, that's incorrect.
So Burla didn't do anything new after the initial chip off with its software?
Sure. So Burla released new software after the initial chip off that addresses being able to download software via the infotainment module while it's in the vehicle. So that involves plugging a USB in to the vehicle and downloading data. That does not address the micro SD card on the circuit board itself.
Really,
And Ms. Gaffney did not have, at the time of the initial chip off, that updated Burla software, correct?
Correct. But
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate your questioning. Thank you for answering my questions. That's all I have at this time, Your Honor, but I have a bit to pack up, so Mr.
interesting.
Brennan can have a clear podium.
Go right ahead.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Okay, he's done. Huh. So, I have a lot of questions still. And maybe some of this will be more clarified with other experts, but like this testimony on direct was really confusing. And I'll tell you what, it was confusing at the time, but when I'm going back and doing timestamps, I'm like, this is the first thing I thought it was, guys. That's why I was like, holy crap. But we're going to take a look at some of that at some point when we have I take another break.
Thank you for that opportunity, Your Honor.
And one thing I did also go back and take a look at, shout out to Need Some Z's for pointing it out. And I think Annie, you were here, that timestamp, or not timestamp, whatever, on the Lexus exemplar, that thing where it was like UTC, I've got a timestamp for that. We'll take a look at as well. Here comes
Good
Brandon.
afternoon.
good
Right.
afternoon.
This will be really interesting because our sort of interpretation here collectively from yesterday was that he definitely knew about this dude's like educational background or lack thereof, right? Because of the way he completely avoided asking that question. But our interpretation, or at least mine, was that he seemed to think that the defense would not figure it out and not ask about it. Because otherwise, you would get out ahead of it, right? So the only reason to not ask those questions and to dance around it would be in hopes that, fingers crossed, they don't notice it. So, and it looks like his first question is, do you know what a sequestration order is? All right. How's he going to rehabilitate or attempt to? Wow. All right.
Do you know what a sequestration order is?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
So it would be in order to not
I
view
wonder how much sleep he got last night.
any testimony of a trial, is my general understanding.
Does that mean that you can't watch any of it on television?
Correct.
Do you understand whether or not you can speak to attorneys about testimony? Is that precluded as well?
I'm not aware either way.
Has anybody
that
ever
possible?
spoken to you about any testimony about that occurred in this trial before you testified?
No, they have not.
Have I ever discussed, intimated, or suggested any information whatsoever
God.
to you?
I'm sorry. How
about
does he not know, though? Because he's testified all these times. How does he not know? Okay.
Arguments, testimony, or anything about this case as it's ongoing?
No, you have not.
Do you follow the rules, sir?
Yes, I do.
Have you followed them in this case?
Yes, I have.
He made up degrees.
When you gave your opinions and you've testified,
This is not the right approach, I don't think. Do you follow? What? I feel like I'm in crazy town. Do you follow the rules? What? Are you trying to trick the jury into thinking there's a different witness on stand? What were you
about arguments, testimony, or anything about this case as it's ongoing?
No, you have not.
crazy?
Do you follow the rules, sir?
Yes, I do.
Have you followed them in this
What is going?
case?
Y'all.
Yes, I have.
When you gave your opinions and you've
I
testified,
would love to know. Hopefully, there's somebody in the courtroom who will. Is the jury laughing? I mean, I know she's told them not to make faces, but like literally, I would be laughing. I would be laughing. I would be laughing.
Do you follow the rules, sir?
Yes, I do.
Have you followed them in this case?
Yes, I have.
When you gave your opinions and you've testified, do you have any information or knowledge about this trial as it actually occurred until the point when you testified?
No, I do not.
You were asked some questions about your CV. A CV is a resume,
Yes, it is.
Oh boy.
and you were asked about a LinkedIn account.
Yes, I was.
Is your LinkedIn account different than your CV?
Yes, it is.
And in this case, when did you learn that your LinkedIn account was wrong or had not been updated? When was the first time you learned that?
That was yesterday.
When you started your LinkedIn account, do you remember when it was?
First of all, hasn't been updated is completely fucking false. And I can't believe Brina just said that again. Hasn't been updated. Nonetheless, any bit that is incorrect, that's on him. That's on him.
You set it up?
I do not. It would have been maybe 10 years ago or more.
Do you routinely update your LinkedIn account?
No, I do not.
When you set up your
Did you guys hear the Ami was going to keep talking?
LinkedIn account?
No, I do not.
When you set up your LinkedIn account, the section where it asks for education, whether graduated or ongoing, do you remember filling out that section?
I don't particularly remember filling it out, but obviously I did at some point.
When you were asked about Aperture's website, how many experts are associated with Aperture?
I could give you a rough number between 80 and 100,
How many offices?
15 or so.
Are you involved in the website design or content?
No, I'm not.
Do you know if Aperture gets the information from their website directly from LinkedIn?
I don't know where they get all of their information from.
Did you ever weigh in or develop your information that was on Aperture's website?
No, not on the website.
You do provide
I
CVs
mean, how the hell would they get? This is dumb.
before you come to court, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And in this case, you were asked by the defense, when you provide your CV, do you understand that it's going to be reviewed by whoever requests it, the Commonwealth or the defense,
Yes, I do.
and that it will be shared with both sides in the court?
Yes.
In fact, the first time you provided a CV in this case, was it October 11, 2014?
Objection, Your Honor.
What?
So the leading nature sustained.
Do you remember the first time you provided a CV in this case?
It would have been around October
What year?
2014.
of 2024. Sorry.
And when you provided that, was it as an exhibit to something?
Yes, if I recall, it was as an exhibit to
That's the thing that I have.
the initial protocol that I sent out.
And when you submitted that CV, did you appreciate whether or not it would be part of a court filing in public?
Yes, I did.
If I could have exhibit 183, please.
Oh, is this the thing that I have? Let's find out the whole thing. I have the whole thing. Let's find out.
183. You could enlarge the top section. Right there is good. And sir, when you provided this CV to be filed with the court and made public, did you indicate that you had obtained a bachelor degree?
No, I did not.
Why did you put currently pursuing?
Because I am currently pursuing a bachelor's degree.
And did you understand your CV was received by the defense and they knew this?
Yes, I do understand that.
Subsequently, you were asked to provide an updated CV in April 2025.
Yes, I was.
Did you do that?
I did.
And can we have exhibit 184?
Now, was this the degree that doesn't exist, and the one that took or it's been in progress for 17 years, or were those the same? I can't even remember now. So many lies about degrees, hard to keep it all straight.
Did you further appreciate this would be provided to both the court and the defense?
Yes, I did.
Did you represent to the defense that your education included earning a bachelor degree?
No, I did not.
You've testified in, you can take that down, please. You've testified in many other cases
I have. Yes.
in courts around the country.
Yes, I have.
And when you've testified in other courts around the country, do you know whether there are transcripts of your actual testimony?
Yes, I believe there are.
Have you ever represented in any court that you achieved your bachelor's degree?
No, I have not.
Have you ever inflated your qualifications in a court?
No, I have not.
When I asked you about some of your
It'd be interesting to see if they are able to impeach him on that.
background, you told us that you had certificates in Celebrite and Axiom. I didn't go through all of the qualifications and all of the accomplishments you had, did I?
Really?
No, you did not.
Do
Really?
you have professional certifications,
Oh.
GIAC, Advanced Smartphone Forensic
Oh
Analysis?
my god! Oh my god! Really? Really?
Yes, I do.
Unbelievable.
Do you have professional certification from CCME, Celebrite Certified Mobile Examiner?
Sustained.
Do you have professional certifications as a Magnet Certified Forensic Examiner?
Sustained for the same reason.
I'm sorry?
Sustained for the same reason.
Do you have a number of certificates that I did not ask you about?
Yes, you did. I
Can you
did,
share
yes.
some of those with us?
Sure. So one of those is going to be GIAC, Advanced Smartphone Forensics. So that's going to be Global Information Assurance certification. And that is basically a 40-hour class with a, or 48-hour class with a test at the end to get that certification. There's also a Celebrite Certified Mobile Examiner certification.
Again, going to the whole thing that Brennan knew this was coming. He did not ask these. I guarantee you he did not ask these questions on direct in terms of, like, he had him talk a little bit about his certifications, but he saved these on purpose. I guarantee you. So that then on redirect, he could come in and be like, look, you're actually even more qualified. I guarantee you that was on purpose.
Certification. That is specifically to, kind of demonstrate your knowledge of the Celebrite software, as well as Magnet Forensics certifications, again, for their software specifically.
Any certifications regarding computer hacking?
What was that last part? Sorry.
Any certifications regarding computer hacking?
No, not currently.
Okay.
Wow.
Did you also take any classes regarding crash data or Bosch?
Yes, I have.
What do you have for certificates in that arena?
So those certifications would be Crash Data Retrieval Technician and Crash Data Retrieval Analyst.
Did Brennan expect him to say he had a certification in hacking?
So those courses would be around acquiring and analyzing crash data from airbag control modules.
You mentioned that you had over 700 hours
Yes, I do.
of classes
I
and
don't think
certification.
he said that.
Yes, that's of classes and classes and seminars or conferences, specifically in digital forensics or vehicle forensics.
Do you need a bachelor's degree to be competent and achieve in this area?
No, I do not.
Is a bachelor's degree a prerequisite of success in a particular field?
No, it is not.
You ever hear of Bill Gates,
Oh my God.
Yes.
Really?
Stephen Jobs,
Yes.
Oprah Winfrey?
Yeah.
Sustained.
That's disgusting. Oprah Winfrey. What is wrong with you,
You
Brennan?
would become
Oh, my God.
engaged in this case in October 2024.
Bill Gates, Stephen Jobs, whoever calls him Stephen, and then Oprah Winfrey. I'm gonna, you guys. I had to go. What the fuck? Correct. He asked about hacking and Burgess said no. It's just that it's weird because it's like he was asking that question as if he expected that to be a yes, that he had a certification on that, because that was the line of questioning. He was like, do you have this? Yes. Do you have this? Yes. It was just weird because you're not supposed to, like, why would he ask that question if he doesn't have it? You know what I mean? It's like, it's like Brennan didn't do his homework type thing, right? I mean,
Correct.
yeah. Agreed.
And when you first became engaged, you had a chance to look at photographs and some data?
Yes, I did.
At that point, you hadn't had a chance. Did you have had you had a chance to actually inspect any of the physical property?
No, I had not.
Did you have an understanding that somebody else did?
Yes, I did.
Who?
Miss Gaffney and a number of other people with the MSP.
Attended some type of procedure?
Correct.
And do you know who led the actual procedure?
As far as I'm aware, it would have been Miss Gaffney.
The defense expert?
Correct.
You filed a protocol. What was the purpose in October when you first got involved in filing a protocol?
Sure. So the first purpose of the protocol was just to address the fact that we were missing data that we expected and address a potential solution to gather more data.
Without having looked at the physical property, the actual boards, how did you conclude simply on data and photographs that there was missing data?
Sure. So that would be reviewing the initial data that was provided and not seeing user data like I would expect. And that's because there's a number of different chips that are on a circuit board for an infotainment or a telematics or any other module. And there's a number of different data bearing chips. The purpose of those chips will vary. Some chips' main purpose is to store user data. Some chips' main purpose is to store software or firmware. So if you're gathering, acquiring data from chips that only have software and firmware, then you would not expect or you would not see user data within those chips.
When you made that analysis and concluded that there was missing data, had there been any report provided by Ms. Gaffney suggesting there was missing data?
No, there was not.
Had there been any analysis or opinion alerting that there was missing data?
No, there was not.
Was there anything to indicate that the person who did this test missed data at that point?
No, not at that point.
When you decided
I
to,
would say, again, I'm just so curious. I wouldn't be surprised if this jury doesn't care anymore. Like they've already written him off as like useless person, in this trial. And if they're even listening.
write a protocol so you could actually look at the boards and do an analysis. Did you
Heather,
put that
stop.
protocol in writing?
Yes, I did.
And do you remember
God.
if that was around October 10th, 2024?
That sounds familiar. Yes.
Leading as fuck.
Now,
There's a
when you were
a
cross-examined,
house cat that's
the
going
attorney
wild.
asked you if you knew what the word mendacity meant. Do you remember that?
Shit.
Yes, I do.
And you didn't know. Do you now know that means to lie or be untruthful?
Your Honor.
Oh my God.
Understand.
He didn't ask you a question. He just asked you if you knew what the word was. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that is a question.
Do you remember he also, on cross-examination, suggested that when you had your mistake about megabytes, megabits, it was the defense
Megabyte?
expert that alerted you to that mistake? Do you remember that suggestion by the defense?
Yes, I do.
Did they ever show you the documents so you could see the chronology?
No, they did not.
You wrote a report on October 10th, 2024. Did you then write another report, a supplemental protocol?
Yes. So I did write that
We know.
initial protocol and then a supplemental protocol.
Was that
Right. Really? Go. You don't say. Huh. Really? Tell us more about that, please. What the fuck is
on
this?
October 17th, 2024?
That sounds about right.
When you wrote that a week later,
Just the leading is just.
at that point, had you realized your mistake?
Objection, Your Honor.
Understand.
Yeah.
Why did you?
Can we approach, please?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's funny, Twiz. Good God. Here's what I think should be done with Brett Brennan. They need to get him one of them burlap sacks and a freaking straw hat and put him outside in a cornfield and let the crows sort it out. Reference to a joke we had earlier.
When you realized your error, what did you do?
So I intended to correct it with a supplemental protocol.
When you corrected it with the supplemental protocol, do you remember what date that was?
Not specifically, I do not.
If I showed you your report, would that help your memory?
Yes, it would.
May I approach?
Yes.
Please don't read this, just look at it. And if it refreshes your memory, let me know, and then I'll
Please?
ask you a question.
Don't read this, just look at it. Are there words on the page? Because if you look at it, you have to be reading it. You can't not read the words. What is happening? What is happening?
Please don't read this, just look at it. And
Huh?
if it refreshes your memory, let me know, and then I'll ask you a question.
Yes, it does.
It's like, please don't inhale oxygen, just continue breathing. Like, what? I don't get it. I don't get it.
When did you correct your error with the supplemental protocol?
That was on October 17th, 2024.
That's a good one, Heather. Yeah, get yourself a raise. Wow, Brennan, you're totally helping things. Not.
And do you remember the date that you first received any information from Mr. DeSorga?
No, I do not
Do you
specifically.
remember the date when Mr. DeSorga's information was first filed?
No, I do not.
And do you know if it was, whether it was after your October 17th supplementary report?
Not specifically, but I believe it was after.
And so when it was suggested that you had to be schooled or advised by Mr. DeSorga, was that accurate?
Objection, Your Honor.
Word it differently. Word it differently.
The claim that was made that you weren't aware until someone advised you of your error, was that true?
No, that was untrue.
When you realized there was an error and put it in a report, were you ever dissuaded from publicly alerting all the parties of your mistake?
No,
Do you leave stuff in or out of a report if you find it helpful or hurtful to one side?
no, I do not.
Have you,
Well,
in
I
this
still believe that, not.
effort that you've made in this case, have you always been encouraged to provide all information regardless of what it is?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow that.
Yes, I have.
And who's encouraged you to always provide all information regardless of what it
No,
says?
no one. So my job is to assist the jury. So the jury, assisting the jury means presenting all the information.
Have you ever been discouraged by me?
No, I have not.
When you looked at the photographs and you looked at the boards without actually touching them, how long did it take you to figure out that there was some other vehicle for data?
Sure. So it took a few times to look at the photographs before I identified the micro SD card slot.
You were asked whether it's important to be accurate and reliable. Is it in this field?
Yes, it is.
And if data is not found on the chips, is it a standard practice to look elsewhere?
Yes, that would be a standard practice.
Was that done in this
I have
case
an
before
idea
you
of where
became
they can
involved?
look.
No, it was not.
Who was the first person to identify where the missing information was?
Myself.
What happens if you miss information because you don't see it?
So if you miss information, that's information that won't help in the analysis.
In this case, the information on the SD card that you found, how important was that to this entire analysis?
It was important to timestamp certain events.
Without that information in the SD card, would you have been able to so accurately timestamp certain events?
No, not so accurately.
Before you were involved, was that information, that very important information for timestamps, was that available for either side?
No, it was not.
Is it now?
It is.
You were asked about Burla.
Burla.
When Burla did not have updated software to simply plug into a car and download the information, what process would have to be used?
Sure. So best practice for vehicle forensics is if the module or a vehicle is not supported by a forensic tool, would be to remove that module, or let me start over, manually document the screens on that infotainment module if it's available and it can be powered up. But then also going through disassembling the module, identifying any type of chips or SD cards that may hold data, and acquiring that data.
Is that called a chip-off process?
It is called a chip-off process.
Does it describe the process well? Chip
Let
off?
me try
Yes,
to
it
hold
does.
ground here.
Since Ms. Gaffney did the original analysis and did that chip-off, has the software updated?
Yes.
Is that the Burla software?
No, I'm sorry. So she has not done a updated analysis with the Burla software.
But has the Burla software itself updated?
So the Burla software itself has updated, but it is limited to, again, plugging in a USB into the infotainment module while it's in the car running.
Does the updates in Burla software have anything to do with the SD card?
No, it does not.
Why not?
Because, again, they're going a different route to acquire data, and they are acquiring a limited amount of data through what's called diagnostic logs. So if you think of diagnostic logs, your radio unit is keeping logs of any time things happen on the radio for manufacturer purposes.
Using the radio.
So Burla
Oh my
is
God.
taking those logs, and they can interpret some of those logs.
Useless.
They are not
Useless.
acquiring all the data that is on the SD card itself.
You have drafted a number of reports in this case.
I have, yes.
Regarding the chip-off process, did Ms. Gaffney ever write a report?
No, not that I'm aware of.
When you wrote reports in this case, do you expect for them to be shared?
Yes, I do.
When other experts, like, for example, Mr. DeSorga writes a report, do you expect to have a copy and review it?
Yes.
Sustained.
What is the standard practice when there are reports from different experts regarding the same subject matter?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Is there a standard practice
Sure.
regarding reviewing reports from similar experts in similar subject matter?
Sure. So anytime a report is written by an expert, that report would be provided and shared with opposing experts.
Reports, do they always come at the same time in a case?
No, they do not.
When you wrote your reports, how would you provide them so they could be disseminated?
Sure. So that I would typically provide them to the client or the attorney that hired me, and then that would be disseminated from there.
Did you have an opportunity to receive Mr. DeSorga's March 5th, 2025
Spice
PowerPoint?
things up.
Yes, I did.
Were you provided that by
Look at
me,
that.
the Commonwealth?
Yes, I was.
And were you asked or given any direction on what you could or should do?
No, I was not.
Were you ever asked to reach any particular result?
No, I was not.
Were you ever asked to avoid anything?
No, I was not.
What did you see your role as when you receive a report from another expert like Mr. DeSorga?
Sure. So when I receive a report, I would typically review it and then make a decision if it's better to address any issues in that report through testimony or address those with a supplemental report.
And in that analysis, do you follow your own discretion or do you follow directions of the client?
No, I would follow my own discretion.
Did you ever receive any direction on what you should and shouldn't do regarding considering Mr. DeSorga's report?
No, I did not.
When you looked at Mr. DeSorga's report, did you have concerns about his report?
I did. Yes.
I want to talk about his report in detail before we get there.
Please
Share with us what your general concerns were.
We have a little
About
bit of
Mr.
room.
DeSorga's
We have a little
report.
bit of room, so we put it on 1.25 because this is just.
And you reviewed the whole report.
Sure. So what Mr. DeSorga does is take a couple different adjustment methods to attempt to adjust the clock from the Lexus with the iPhone. But what he does is takes a lot of methods or data points that are not applicable to the time that we're interested in.
What do you mean? Can you explain with a little more specificity what he does?
Sure. So if you think about it, your clock is constantly, changing as far as it syncs up with other GPS satellites or network time servers, and it's updating constantly. So a clock variance between two devices may be different at, say, 12 o'clock in the day versus 1 o'clock in the day. So best practice is to choose an event.
Best practices don't rely on those damn clocks. This is ridiculous. Rely on the iPhone. What is happening?
That is nearest to your time in
Oh my
question.
God.
So you have the most appropriate adjustment for that clock variance.
Mr. DeSorda's analysis, did he choose the event most closely tied to the backing up event?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
The backing up event. Are you familiar with that time frame?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Was Mr. Sorga's analysis based on information
Sorga.
most closely related to that event?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Facts on evidence.
What information
Yeah.
did Mr. DeSorga choose to use for that analysis relative to the backing up event?
Sure. So he chose a couple things. That's going to be call logs that happened on both devices or that was recorded on both devices, as well as a GPS data point, which was incorrectly identified as being near that or encompassing that 3-point turn. So what we did is did a more thorough analysis of that 3-point turn event when it occurred within the iPhone data, and then compared that and adjusted with the Lexus.
Explain to us your concern about using call logs.
Sure. So there's a number of call logs that you saw earlier that were recorded by the phone and the Lexus. The one thing you'll notice, and it's hard to kind of go back to it without the graph, but the calls that happened between 1 and 5 o'clock that morning actually happened when the car was powered off. We know that based on the power on and power off events. So those timestamps that are recorded with that 2-second and 1-second offset is actually from Mrs. Reed's iPhone as she gets back in the vehicle and her phone connects up and syncs back up. So the 8-second and the 16 or 21-second offset are the only offsets that we have to compare to calls.
Was that a concern?
It was a concern.
Why?
Because if you're using the 1 and 2-second offsets, that could be misleading because it's not actually comparing the Lexus clock with the iPhone clock from Mr. O'Keefe.
What's it doing?
It's comparing the Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone clock with Mrs. Reed's iPhone clock.
What other concerns?
Sure. So the other concern was a GPS point known as GPS 154, which if you remember
And their clocks would be the same because iPhones. What the fuck?
yesterday, we talked about it a little bit. So that was misidentified as being the end or towards the end of that 3-point turn. But when we look closer at all the location data, we can see that actually occurs between 12:23:59 and I believe it was 12:24:07.
Let me ask you some questions about what compelled you to look at the 3-point turn and synchronize the clocks. Were you aware of Mr. Whiffin's report where he offered that the last user interaction on Mr. Whiffin's phone was 12:32:09?
Objection, Your Honor.
You were asked, did you consider Mr. Whiffin's report where there was a last user interaction of 12:32:09 by the user?
The thing is like, and I brought this up earlier, and now it's really come up, right? The whole thing about the iPhone timing wrong. They've not explained how that's possible. I mean, everybody on the jury's got to be thinking what I'm thinking, and probably y'all are all thinking, right? Which is like, what the fuck are we talking about here? I mean, the only way you can manipulate the time on your iPhone, because this has come up in other cases, and I've tried it. Literally, the only way you can do anything with that is just to change your time zone. That's it. But if you change the time zone, then you can still do the math to the actual time zone. The time is always the same. It's compared to UTC. So you can't, unlike your microwave or your oven or your car, you can't just like choose what time it is and just set it fast or slow or whatever. And the other thing is this, like, think about all of the Celebrate reports, right? All the Celebrate reports, when they include all the times from the phone, anything was done, be it a call, be it a text, be it a step, be it a unlock, be it a whatever, anything. They have the hour and the minute and the seconds and the milliseconds. I can't.
I'm going to allow that.
You were asked if you considered that. Did you know that information?
I did know that information was available and existed.
Up so we can hear the questions. I ranted in the middle of it.
Mr. Whiffin's report where there was a last user interaction of 12:32:09 by the user.
Objection, Your Honor.
No
I'm going
iPhones.
to allow that.
You were asked if you considered that. Did you know that information?
I did know that information was available and existed, but I did not use that in my analysis for the clock synchronization.
Did that have any part of your motivation to do the clock synchronization?
No, it did not.
Were you attempting to match the synchronization with any of this other information that exists in data?
No, I was not.
You were also asked if you were aware of Mr. O'Keefe's phone that at 12:32:16, it ended its movement.
Yes, I was aware of that. Yes.
Did that in any way affect your interest or your decision to synchronize the clocks?
No, it did not. So my primary focus and to adjust the clocks was because I thought the PowerPoint slides by Mr. DeSogra were misleading.
Really good deal.
When you were shown Exhibit 190, can we have 190, please?
You know, y'all, I wonder if they'll finish with him before lunch and then call.
You were shown this chart. Was this the entirety of Mr. DeSorga's report?
No, it was not.
Was there text information offered by Mr. DeSorga to give his position or explanation of this?
Yes, there was.
Is that included in this exhibit?
No, it's not.
Did you get a chance to read Mr. DeSorga's report, including the actual text explaining his analysis and process leading to this chart?
Yes, I was.
Did you look at Mr. DeSorga's entire report?
Yes, I did.
I move to introduce Mr. DeSorga's report.
191.
Report.
Correct.
I want you to take us through Mr. DeSorga's report and explain to the jury what concerns you about his analysis.
Sure.
With the court's permission, I'd like to put this page 1 of this
Because
report.
he doesn't testified yet. Okay. I wonder if this was an agreement they made at sidebar, you know? Possible.
Is this the front cover of Mr. DeSorga's March 5th, 2025 report?
Yes, it is.
Turn to page 2, please. What do you recognize this slide or photograph coming from?
Sure. So this slide is coming from Dr. Welcher's overall PowerPoint slides.
When you first saw this slide, where did you first see, which source did you first see this through?
Through Mr. DeSogra's PowerPoint.
Well, Dr. Welcher works at Aperture, doesn't he?
He does, yes.
Did you know he was working on this case?
Yes, I did.
Was he providing you his PowerPoint or slides before this point?
No, he was not.
When you first saw this slide, did you see information about the timing of the text stream event, which was the backing maneuver?
Yes, I did.
And what time did that show?
Can we blow it up just so I don't get the time
Please.
wrong?
Up, please. I'm sorry. Here we go. Thank you, Ms. Gilman.
Sure. So that's got the text stream event ending at 12:31:43.
These text stream events that are captured, do you know how long of the event is captured? How many seconds?
Yes. So approximately 5 seconds before the trigger threshold is met and 5 seconds after.
When this information that you reviewed in Mr. DeSorga's report, do you know what clock is used to identify the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43?
Yes, I do.
And what clock is that?
So that's a combination of the Lexus clock that's coming from the infotainment center, as well as the running timer that we discussed yesterday that's coming from the airbag module itself.
Is the source of that time important?
Yes, it is.
If you compare time from a different clock with time from a different clock and don't synchronize the two, does that lead you to an accurate result?
No, it does not.
When you were answering questions, you repeatedly were saying, according to the Lexus clock. Why were you offering that qualification repeatedly? One moment, please.
Sure.
Why were you offering that qualification repeatedly?
Sure. So to make sure that the jury understood that that timestamp was coming from the Lexus itself and was not an adjusted timestamp to Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
Could you scroll down, please, Ms. Gilman? Up a little bit, please. Thank you. The 3209, what did you understand that information to be?
Sure. So that is information I understood to be the last device lock recorded on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
And what clock did you understand that time came from?
That would come from Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone clock.
If you reconciled his iPhone clock information, or if you compared it without reconciling to the Lexus information, what's the danger in doing that?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Is there any danger in doing that?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow that.
Is there any danger in comparing two times if you don't consider the clocks that they came from?
Yes, there is. So you could essentially be, in inaccurate time for when that event actually occurred.
If you could just go down to the bottom so we can see the rest of that. You mentioned the word variance yesterday during your direct examination. I'm going to ask you to look at that box that has the green around it. Is that an example of variance?
Yes, that is an example of variance between, no. So I take that back. That is not an example of variance itself. That is an example of comparing the end of the text stream event to the device lock event.
Is that attempting to compare two different devices?
So that's attempting to, that's not attempting to compare anything. It's just stating that the time between the device event lock and the end of the text stream event, unadjusted, is approximately 26 seconds.
Is that accounting for synchronization or not accounting for synchronization?
That is not accounting. That is not with synchronization.
Can we turn to the next page, please? Did you review the next page of Mr. DeSorga's report?
Yes, I did.
And did it lead you to any concerns?
This page specifically, yes and no. So this page again is just showing the time difference between the end of the text stream event and Mr. O'Keefe's last device lock event.
I just don't feel like there's enough. I feel like this is not doing anything for me, y'all. Was it doing anything for you guys? I feel like he's not able to explain this in a way that is helpful to where you can even tell what the point is, whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense. It's just like, this is just not, a good expert can explain stuff to where you understand what they're talking about, and then you can decide whether or not it makes sense or not. But this is just all like, yeah, okay, good. I'm glad I'm not alone. Like, I'm just not, this isn't meaning, this is like, you may as well be speaking, I don't know, Greek or something, as they say.
Is this another way of showing the information that was in that green box?
It is. It's another way of showing the information in that green box, but it is not a clock variance or an adjustment.
Could you turn the page, please? When you read this page, is this a opinion or conclusion?
No, it does not.
What is it?
So this is just pointing out that when the 26-second window, which they'll refer as John's interaction window, when that number is positive, then the phone interaction occurs after the end of the text stream event. When that number is negative, the phone interaction occurs before the end of the text stream event ends.
Did you have any issue with that slide?
No, not that slide in particular.
Okay, we turn to the next page. Did you have an opportunity to review the next page?
Yes, I did.
And were you in agreement with this page?
I was in agreement with this page, yes.
And what does this tell us?
So this page points out that two clocks are not always in sync. So again, to synchronize those clocks, you would have to have a shared event that occurred on both devices.
If we could have the next page, please. Any chance to make that a tiny bit bigger, Ms. Gilman? Were you in agreement with this page?
No, I was not.
Tell us what concerned you about this page.
Sure. So this page is potentially misleading to the jury, again, by using,
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike.
I'll strike that.
Tell me what your concerns were.
Sure. So my concerns with this, that it was potentially misleading to the jury.
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike.
I'm going to allow that. That's his concern.
Sure. So that this slide was potentially misleading to the jury because it uses incorrect adjustments to try and adjust the times.
How does it use incorrect adjustments? Explain that to us so it's very basic, please.
Sure. So as we kind of go through the next few slides, you'll see. But essentially what they're doing is, or what is being done, is they're comparing call logs, timestamps from call logs from when the phone was off, suggesting that, again, that the lock event occurs after the end of the text stream event, as well as incorrectly identifying the GPS point when the 3-point turn ends.
Will you better be able to explain that to us with the further slides that come next?
Yes, I believe so.
If we could turn to the next page, please. Okay. Is this just a label of what's to come?
It is.
And can we turn to the next page, please? If we could start, Ms. Gilman, with the top left-hand box, if you could enlarge that for us. Did you review this information in this box?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And before we get to your opinions, What does this information tell you?
Sure. So this is a snapshot from my initial report where I point out that the ignition on happens approximately 3 seconds before the infotainment power on event. So you can see that. I think we're up a little too high on the page.
Like,
Yeah. So highlighted in the red. That's based on our testing where we identified that the ignition on, or your finger on the ignition pressing it, and the engine coming on and the vehicle coming on happens 3 seconds before the infotainment system powers on.
you were
Yeah.
asked on cross-examination about that 3 seconds
On that as well.
between the pressing the button and the infotainment system going on, but you weren't allowed to answer the question whether you considered it or why that was important. So I'm going to give you that opportunity now.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Ask the question.
Okay. Is there significance to that 3 seconds, and did you consider it in your report, in your findings?
Yes, I did.
Share with us.
Sure. So when we make
There
our
is-
adjustments based on the,
Y'all, I mentioned this the other day. There he's with the share with us. Like, what are we in kindergarten at show and tell? It is so weird. I've never heard this before from any attorney. It's just so bizarre.
event, so in this case, the 3-point turn, what we're looking at is the approximate time frame when that 3-point turn occurred via Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. And then we're adjusting that for the approximate time that the tech stream event and that 3-point turn ends. So as we sync those clocks, we're adjusting not only for the difference in the clocks, but we're also adjusting for this 3-second delay.
Did you accommodate that 3-second delay in your analysis and your conclusions?
Yes, that was included in my analysis.
Now back to the screen. The information there, is that text taken from your actual report?
Yes, it is.
Could we shrink the screen, please? And then the photograph in the bottom left. we could
No, are
enlarge
you
that.
the man?
Is that as well from your report?
Yes, that is also from my report.
Did we look at that yesterday on your direct examination?
Yes, I believe so.
And briefly tell us what that depicts?
Sure. So that's during our exemplar testing, where again we've got it rigged with cameras that are recording video and timestamps of interactions we're having with the vehicle, which include powering it on and powering it off.
If you could shrink the screen, and we'll go to the right, Ms. Gilman. What was the import of this screen to you in its entirety?
Sure. So this is not actually a valid way to adjust or synchronize clocks because, again, we're not adjusting based on a shared event. So the ignition on event occurs. It is not recorded by Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. But again, we are adjusting and including this in our timestamp adjustment.
If we turn to the next page, please. You were asked about the process of synchronization through phone calls or through the 3-point turn data.
Yes, that's correct.
Why did you choose to use the 3-point turn data instead of phone calls?
Sure. So I chose to use the 3-point turn data because it was closer in time to the event that was of interest, as well as it was based not only on the infotainment clock, but it was also based on that running timer. So once we adjust that first event to Mr. O'Keefe's phone, the second event is also based on that running timer, so it would also be adjusted.
Did you have any concerns about using phone calls specifically?
Yes, I did.
And what were they and why?
Sure. So those concerns were related to the phone calls that we could actually compare. And again, some of the phone calls that happened earlier or closer to the event of interest were not actually recorded by the infotainment system itself.
Why is it important to take an event closest to the time of the event you're studying?
Sure. So like I kind of said before, clock variants will change between devices as they are constantly syncing back up with reference systems. So a clock difference that you see at 1 o'clock in the day is not going to be the same as you would see at 2 o'clock in the day.
When you chose the
You're saying
3-point
that, but it
turn,
doesn't
how
make
close to the
any-
backing up
any
event
more sense.
was that in time?
I believe it was within 10 minutes or so.
Was that closer in time or further away in time than the phone calls as a method?
That was closer in time than the phone calls.
We have said this a number of times, and it doesn't make any more sense. It makes less sense every time. And here's the thing. Okay, so I've just really lost. They've lost me. Because here's what they're saying. They're saying that because of the variance in the car times and all that, right? Like he keeps saying, try to sync it to match up to the iPhone time. That actually makes sense because, like I keep saying, the iPhone should be the reliable one, right? But first of all, why? I mean, this is a rhetorical question. Is the Commonwealth trying to get that to match anyway? I mean, I think we know why, right? But that's the first thing. That's obviously because then it doesn't match up, right? You can't prove your theory. And so you're trying to make the data match up so you can be like, haha, right? But nevertheless, like leaving that aside, he on one hand, he's saying, okay, we're going to try to, account for the variance in the Lexus so that it can match up to the phone. But then they're also saying that the phone's not accurate. Again, like I keep saying, this doesn't make any sense. You can't just have, you know what it's like? It's like if somebody's like doing archery, right? And they're moving and the target is also moving, right? Either the person needs to be still and the target moves, or the person's moving and the target is still. But if they're both moving, you know what you get? A mess of arrows everywhere, right? It's like that. So, but the weird thing is it's like he's contradicting himself, right? Like this, that's how this sounds to me. I mean, that's what he's saying, because it's like the iPhone's not right, the iPhone's ahead, the iPhone, depending on the time, it's different, all this and that, but yet trying to, sync up the car time to match the phone. So, okay, that's what it sounds
Why
like.
is it important to take an event closest to the time of the event you're studying?
Sure. So like I kind of said before, clock variance will change between devices as they are constantly syncing back up with reference systems. So a clock difference that you see at 1 o'clock in the day is not going to be the same as you would see at 2 o'clock in the day.
This is just
When you chose the 3-point turn, how close to the backing up event was that in time?
I believe it was within 10 minutes or so.
Was that closer in time or further away in time than the phone calls as a method?
That was closer in time than the phone calls. If you think back to the phone calls that we could have compared, those occurred at 5 o'clock in the morning.
We turn to the next page, please. Did you have a chance to review this slide of the PowerPoint?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now you see on the left is a box. Where's that box taken from?
Sure. So that box on the left is taken from my report. That's going to be my initial report.
January 30th, 2025?
That's correct.
Okay. And share with us what you were trying to express in this box.
Sure. So again, this box is
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I apologize. Ms. Gilman, is there any chance we could enlarge the box on the left? My apologies. Okay.
Yeah,
Please
we
proceed.
need a bigger
Sure. So this is a comparison of the calls. So the infotainment call timestamps are on the furthest left column. So again, your infotainment system, when you plug your phone in, is recording and synchronizing your calls. It's not great about recording and synchronizing every call. So there's a lot of calls here that we don't have that we know exist based on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. So the calls that we do have that were recorded in the infotainment system, we can compare to the timestamps that those are recorded on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. So when we do that, there's a couple things we notice is during that 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock and 4:45 time frame, when we look back at the power on and off events, we know the vehicle was not powered on at that time. So the vehicle's off. So those timestamps are not coming from the vehicle. They're coming from Mrs. Reed's iPhone or the defendant's iPhone. And then the times after 5:21, we know the vehicle has been powered up at that point.
What was this about phone calls that don't exist? Hold on. Was that sounded like it was new
Is
information?
that box taken from?
Sure. So that box on the left is taken from my report. That's going to be my initial report.
January 30th, 2025?
That's correct.
Okay. And share with us what you were trying to express in this box.
Sure. So again, this box is
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I apologize. Ms. Gilman, is there any chance we could enlarge the box on the left? My apologies. Okay. Please proceed.
Sure. So this is a comparison of the calls. So the infotainment call timestamps are on the furthest left column. So again, your infotainment system, when you plug your phone in, is recording and synchronizing your calls. It's not great about recording and synchronizing every call. So there's a lot of calls here that we don't have that we know exist based on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
Okay, right.
The calls that we do have.
Okay, so it's not deleted calls or anything like shenanigans. Okay, I see. Right. Okay.
Were recorded in the infotainment system, we can compare to the timestamps that those are recorded on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. So when we do that, there's a couple things we notice is during that 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock and 4:45 time frame, when we look back at the power on and off events, we know the vehicle was not powered on at that time. So the vehicle's off. So those timestamps are not coming from the vehicle. They're coming from Mrs. Reed's iPhone or the defendant's iPhone. And then the times after 5:21, we know the vehicle has been powered up at that point. So those timestamps are coming from the infotainment system itself. So that's why we can actually do a comparison of those timestamps. And determine the exact or the approximate clock variance.
When you look at the call timestamps of 1:14:13, 4:38:16, and 4:42:06, and 4:45:12, was the power on or off with the car during those four first calls?
Yeah, so with those first 5 calls, the car was powered off. And again, we know that based on the power on and off event. We also know that just by looking at the offset, it's a consistent 1 or 2 seconds. And that's what we typically expect and see between 2 iPhones. That's because iPhones are generally pinging back to Apple servers or GPS towers that are the same. So those times are pretty consistent and pretty accurate.
Was the power on by 5:04:28?
No, not at 5:04:28. It was still powered off.
So those first 5 events, were they reliable for you to use in synchronization?
No, they were not.
You gave us a number of reasons. One, the time distance between the event and because they were phone to phone. Any other reasons why they weren't?
I'll strike the first time, ask the question.
Besides the reasons you already gave us, are there any other reasons why this would not be a reliable way to synchronize 2 separate devices?
Not besides the point I've made already.
Okay. And if we could zoom back on this. The box on the right, is that from your report? Is that Mr. DeSorga?
That's Mr. DeSogra.
And was there anything about that analysis that concerned you?
Sure. So that analysis is misleading because, again, it's not comparing Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone to the infotainment system. It's actually comparing the defendant's iPhone to Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
Is there any acknowledgement anywhere in Mr. DeSorga's report that he appreciated that this was iPhone to iPhone rather than iPhone to infotainment?
No, there's not.
Did you ever receive any report from Mr. DeSorga that would alert that he appreciated that this was iPhone to iPhone and not iPhone to infotainment?
Objection, Your Honor.
He literally just asked that.
If we could go to the next slide, please. Is this a similar or different slide?
Sure. So this is a different slide.
Okay. If we can zoom in on the left box, please. Where does that box come from?
Sure. So again, that's coming from the same page of my report, just highlighting the 5:30 phone call. And this is comparing the iPhone from Mr. O'Keefe with the infotainment clock.
At that point, is the power on of the Lexus?
Yeah. So at this point, the power is on. So this is a comparison of the infotainment clock with the iPhone clock at that time.
Could you zoom out? That final box that shows the comparison between the defendant's Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone, do you have any concerns about the accuracy of that information for that time?
No. So I think those times are accurate. But again, that's at 5 o'clock in the morning when we're trying to adjust the clock variance. And it's too far away from the time in question. So if we zoom back in to the box, we can actually see in the data what I'm talking about as far as clock variance will change, with time. So the phone call at 5:21, we see an offset of around 8 seconds between the 2 devices, between the infotainment system and the iPhone. And then at 5:30, which is only 9 minutes later, we can see that offset has actually increased between 16 and 21.
In capturing this data, were there phone calls between the infotainment system and Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Yes, those last 2 phone calls were between the infotainment system, or were recorded by the infotainment system with Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
How does that happen?
Sure. So that's, when the device is connected up to the vehicle and you make a phone call, the call is recorded within the infotainment system and it's recorded with the infotainment system's timestamp.
Could you focus on the right-hand box, please? Did you review the right-hand box?
Yes, I did.
Was that from your report or is that Mr. DeSorga's opinion?
That's Mr. DeSogris.
Did you have any agreement with that?
Yes, so I do agree with that calculation, but again, that's 5 o'clock in the morning versus when we're really interested in around 12:30.
Oh, hi, Fender. This is just, we've all been having our brains numbed. This is the, who's on, Mrs. Reed? This is the redirect of, fuck out of here. Dude, Shanon Burgess. Here's what I was going to say, though. I've literally just been, sitting here, what is happening, trying to make sense of this. Here's what I will say, is that, as far as this goes, right? Even if you set aside, let's pretend that he didn't have all the credibility issues. Let's just pretend he didn't have that, okay? Pretend that he was credible. When you've got a battle of the experts, right? When you've got him, and then you're going to have the defense expert to come in, and Mr. DeSorga, right? what's the jury in terms of the issues that are before the jury, right? And they're the finders of fact. What's going to happen is whoever can explain it to them better, that's who they're going to go with, right? Like, in other words, you've got this dude explaining things and it's just not registering. It's not, so if they've got if the defense expert can just explain this in a way that makes sense, that's who the jury's going to go with. And that's even if you set aside the credibility issues, right? So I just wanted to point that out, that the fact that he's not explaining things well, I mean, that's what you want in an expert. You want an expert that can explain things well. I mean, among other things, but that's like maybe one of the first and foremost important things, that they can explain things to a jury. And I would suggest that that's not what we have here. And I'm going to bump it up to 1.5 speed because it's just going on and on.
We have the next slide, please. Could we enlarge this? Do you know where this photograph came from?
Yes. So this screenshot came from Dr. Welcher's presentation.
When's the first time you saw this screen?
When I saw this presentation.
In Mr. DeSorga's report?
Correct.
Had
Yes.
you seen this before that?
I had not seen this before that.
If we could focus in a little more, especially the bottom left hand. When you reviewed this, did you feel any need to do further testing?
Yes, I did.
Why?
So what we're looking at, if we zoom back out, so what that is the 12:23:38 is the approximate time that the text stream event occurred. Now, what we want to do is we want to be able to compare that to the 3-point turn from Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. What you'll notice,
I just feel like
though,
he's
is
going
right here, we've got a circled GPS point. So if we can zoom in there.
Ugh.
So this circle here is actually circled GPS point 155, which is after this point, but we'll kind of ignore that. But GPS 154,
Ignore it.
and it's
Okay.
hard to see, the time is 12:23:58. When we look at that, what we see is that actually that GPS position is recorded before the 3-point turn even starts.
You mentioned 154 begins recording before the 3-point turn starts.
Correct.
Is the end time of the 3-point turn a time before or after that 12:23:58?
Sure. So the end of the 3-point turn logically would be after this point.
At the time you saw this slide, had you broken down point 154?
No, not at the time that I saw this slide.
Could you zoom back out a little bit, please? The information in the right box, is that from you or from Mr. DeSorga?
That is not from me.
And when you read that, did that compel you to want to do anything?
Yes, it did. So again, my initial thought was to address this during testimony. With further review and further thought, I decided it was best to offer a supplemental report. What this is, basically the math I agree with. The point I don't agree with is that GPS 154 is the time towards the end of the 3-point turn. And now reviewing further data, we know that's not true.
The 12:23:58 event on the phone, is that related to the first event, the 3-point turn, or the second event, the backing maneuver?
So that's going to be related to the first event, the 3-point turn.
Was there any other data that was closer in time to the to the backing event that you had access to?
No, not that we had access to.
Turn to the next slide, please. You've seen this part of the report before?
Yes, I have.
Having seen the earlier part of the report, does it help you explain and understand this diagram?
Yes, it does.
Is this your diagram or Mr. DeSorga's?
This is Mr. DeSogris.
Do you agree with this diagram?
No, I do not.
Could you explain to us what this, from your perspective, from your experience, what this chart is trying to suggest?
Sure. So this chart is trying to suggest that the lock event always occurs after the end of the text stream event. And again, that's using inaccurate adjustments to make that conclusion.
I want you to use the pointer, and I want you to take us line by line why you believe
Dumb.
that this is inaccurate in trying to conclude the time of those locking adjustments.
Sure. So it's kind of hard to tell. So what we've got is we've actually got two different sections. So we've got the top section, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 events. So that's going to be the GPS event, and those. Let's see. No, that's going to be this. It's hard to say. That's going to be the phone calls and the GPS event that are calculated in this, and it's also done with the 3-second delay as well, adjusted. But what we see is, so this obviously +1 is one of the phone calls that was from the defendant's iPhone time, so not from the infotainment system. So that's a inaccurate comparison. Same thing for the +2, the +1, and the +2 again. The +8, the +16, and the +20 are going to be those last two calls. If you'll notice, the very last call, we can't really tell.
Here's what I will say.
Which phone call?
Sorry. I'm going to take this might become important later. I'm just going to take a screen. He's not making any type of sense, but I'm just going to take a screenshot of this. Should it be important later? That's what I'm going to do. I already did it.
Is the correct one to compare. So we're using both within that same time frame. And that's why we get the 16 or the 21 second variance. But again, That's 5 o'clock in the morning, so that's not appropriate for the time that we were interested in. And then the 20-second variance is coming from that inaccurate GPS position comparison.
Could we enlarge that a little bit, Ms. Billman?
Make it
On
bigger.
the 2021, is that plus or minus 21?
So that is minus 21.
The 20 and 21, is that based on different information than the 1, 2, and 8?
Yes, it is.
And explain again for us, where's the different source of the information?
Sure. So the minus 20 is coming from that GPS point 154, which we know is not the end of the 3-point turn. It's right before the 3-point turn begins. And the minus 21 is coming from the last phone call that happens around 5:20, I believe, or 5:30. And again, that's 5 hours after the time of interest.
The minus 20 and minus 21, is that suggesting that time should be taken off or put onto Mr. O'Keefe's phone for synchronization?
Sure. So that's suggesting that time should be. I'd have to go back to the other slides. I believe that's either way. It's suggesting that the
Please don't.
iPhone lock event occurs +6 or +5 seconds after the end of the text string event.
Besides not accommodating for the timing of that timestamp at the beginning of the 3-point turn, is there anything else about this that concerns you?
No, just that overall, these numbers can be misleading, again, because they're based on inaccurate adjustments, and could lead, again, the jury to believe that the lock event always happens after the end of the text string event.
Can we go to the last page of Mr. DeSorga's report? Is this a conclusion offered by Mr. DeSorga?
Yes, it is.
Did you agree with that?
No, I did not.
Why not?
So based on those inaccurate adjustments, this slide is again kind of misleading in the fact that it states there's always interaction with Mr. O'Keefe's phone after the end of the text string event.
You can take that down and turn that off, please, for a moment. After reviewing this report, you told us you then engaged in further study for synchronization.
Yes, I did.
Did you call me on May 7th?
Yes.
And what were you told to do about a report?
On May 7th?
Yes.
Sure. So I would finish the report and submit it.
Did you?
I did.
When did you submit it?
May 8th.
And do you know that it was provided to the defense by email on May 8th? Do you know if it was provided to the defense?
Yes, I know it was provided. I don't know when.
Now, if we could have Mr. Burgess's PowerPoint, we can go back to page 38, please. After you explain to us,
Oh boy. We're like almost live, guys. Hold on. Huh. All right. Well, let's see what happens if we click on the old live. Yep. So now we're live. Okay. They're at a sidebar. Y'all, I don't even know. I'm at, oh, hi, Kane. Welcome. Yeah, I don't know what is happening. I mean, it's like lunchtime for the jury. I wonder if Judge Bev is going to be like, we're going to go to lunch, and then they're not even done with redirect, and then there would be maybe recross after lunch. If they go to, I mean, when, again, I'm wondering if she's just going to come back and be like, we're going to go to lunch, because it's like 12:58. This redirect has just given me an absolute headache and has done absolutely nothing, I feel like, for moving the needle or rehabilitating this witness. And I feel like it's just droning on and taking forever. Cross, let me know what did you guys take? Did y'all have some key takeaways from Cross so far today? I say so far because there's going to be a recross for sure. I mean, initially there was the thing about him not paying attention to the days. Of course, that was good. There was, I guess, quite a bit of sort of like impeachment as per, when he got the different information and from Ian Whiffen. But again, the dude was way more weaselly today. Like yesterday, the witness, like Mr. Burgess, like answered all the questions, like, he just basically said yes to everything, right? With him, the CV and all and whatnot, and like, yes. And he was real weaselly today. So I feel like yesterday was a bit stronger, but having said that, I think they did all the damage.
15-minute lunch.
There it is. Called it. Called it.
Go for lunch and.
Called it.
Yeah, thank you.
All rise, please. During the notebook follow me.
Let's just see. Yeah, I don't blame you, Candace. Dude, they went to sidebar and I literally was like, I bet they're going to go to lunch because it's almost 1 o'clock. And sure enough. So let's see if they put anything on the record. They might put something on the record. But what it looks like will happen is when they come back from lunch, they have to finish redirect. Because Brennan didn't say he was done. So they were approaching for something. And then, yeah. So I would expect them to finish redirect unless whatever it was he wanted to approach on is getting objected to and sustained, and then that's it. But he probably will still ask at least one last question, try to be like, haha. Anyway, I would expect something on redirect, and then they're just going to be recross. And then, I would still imagine, though, they will get to another witness. I don't think it's going to take through the end of the day. Will it be Judson Welcher, or will the Commonwealth? Okay, well, there you have it. Or will the Commonwealth instead call like a shorter witness so that they can bring Judson Welcher fresh tomorrow? Might not be a bad idea if you're the Commonwealth, right? Because like to separate those two out, considering how this affects Aperture's reputation. Court TV launch music. Oh my God. Okay, so this music is hilarious. Okay, so what shall we do? I have things I want to do, but I'm also thinking it wouldn't be the worst thing to, it's nice to have a little bit of cushion, right? To get through those sidebars and to put it on 1.25 if we need to. So I'm thinking what I will do. The question is, do I start a new stream or not? That's the question. And so court will resume at 1:50. They're usually a little bit late. It's probably going to be 2. So like, in other words, ideally it would be great to start back up at like 2:30 to have a little bit of cushion, right? And we will definitely still have time though, because again, with only half an hour cushion, it's easy to get caught up. We'll still have time to go over the other stuff. But yeah, if we do 2:30, that's an hour and a half. So it might be worth starting another stream because otherwise it's just going to be the court TV music. So he said he wouldn't be, they said, no, they said he wouldn't be available over the weekend. He had plans over the weekend and he wouldn't be available until the beginning of next week. That's what they said last week. But then they were saying if he was going to need to review such and such, that would take long. In other words, that was the whole thing of like, he's going to testify twice or whatever. So I still think that they're going to be calling him either today or tomorrow. If indeed they don't have court at all on Thursday, they might call him today because he's probably going to be a witness that will take a half day and a full day. So I just don't remember if Thursday was also a half day or if Thursday was a full day off of court. I can't remember what she said. I'll go back and double check that because she says that at the end of the day on Friday. Actually, we can just do that real quick. Let's do that. Give me just a sec. That way we can verify that. That would have been day 17. Okay.
We are still on track. I have to tell you those same cautions. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent.
Okay. That's the face she made that I paused and saved it.
All right, so jurors, that is it for today. I am told when I spoke with counsel earlier that we are still on track. I have to tell you those same cautions, please investigation into this case. If you happen to see, be extra careful with your day, and Friday is a day off.
Okay,
Just
hang
want to
on.
remind you, next week, Thursday is a half day and Friday is a day
All
off.
right, there we have it. Thursday's a half day and Friday's a day off. Okay, so in that case, I mean, I could see Judd Welcher taking a full day into half days, as in by half day, it wouldn't really be a half day. What I mean is after lunch, they have redirect and recross, and he gets the end of the day, right? And then a full day tomorrow. I mean, I could see that happening. So I don't know. It could go either way. It could go, they call Judd Welcher, and it could go, they call some other ones. I think what I will do is this. I think what I will do is I will hold off and see. If they call Judd Welcher, I think that we will want to definitely be covering that live. If it's going to be some like law enforcement or some other DNA or whatever, then what I'll do is I'll do the afternoon, like the post lunch. I'll do that tonight, like I sometimes do. I think that'll be the way to do it. So I'll just sort of keep an eye out, right? And then does that sound like a plan for you guys? Because I think we're all going to be really excited to see Judd Welcher. But if it's just going to be some other like DNA analyst, like, let's not, torture ourselves after listening to Brennan with this dude on redirect. You know what I mean? Yep. Thursdays. You might have. Did you already answer that before I found it? Thank you, Bender. Unless it's Proctor. I mean, do you think they're going to call Proctor, Bender? I mean, if it's some exciting witness, like that's what I'm saying. But like, I don't know. They are running out of witnesses. So yeah, but Welcher's definitely available. Welcher's definitely available, and they're definitely going to be calling him this week. I mean, it's either going to be today or tomorrow for sure, without a doubt. Because word on the street is like people were saying that the Commonwealth was going to arrest today or tomorrow, and now it's not going to be today. But I mean, that would be awkward though, right? Because then Thursday being a half day, I don't know. I would expect them to try to arrest on Thursday, right? That would make way more sense. The half day, and then the defense starts fresh after the break. I will go live. Absolutely. I will go live with whenever somebody calls Proctor. If you're talking about the clip we just heard, that was from Friday. I was just pulling that up to confirm the schedule for this week. They're on lunch break right now. So this is court. Hold on. Let me pull up right meow. Hold on. This is right meow. Oops. This is right meow. Court is on lunch break right now. And so they will be back for the rest of redirect. The rest of redirect and recross of Mr. Burgess. And then again, either Judd Welcher or somebody else. Time will tell. So. Oh, it's definitely like a David Hassel half day. I think Twiz fell back asleep. So yeah, so that'll be the plan. I think what we will do is that we will just, and if we do go back, if depending on who it is, right? Whenever we come back, we will go over all the rest of the stuff with the CV and everything that I have for Burgess, just because I feel like right now our brains all need a break from the monotony. So yeah, so that's what we'll do. I'll keep an eye out, but either way, we'll either be going back here in like an hour or so, or if it's something lame, then if it's somebody lame, no offense to them, right? But then we'll do it tonight, I think is what we're saying. Yes, we're saying half. That's what Judge Bev says. She says a half day. So yeah, I feel you, Fender. I know the Twiz interview. We'll do the Twiz interview if he's okay with it. I mean, the other thing is it is from somebody else's channel, so I don't know. And I don't actually know that person, so I don't know how to exactly do that in the right way. Like, I want to cover the Twiz interview, but also I haven't watched it, so I don't really know like what, I don't want to be like just streaming somebody else's, you know what I mean? It's different when it's like court TV or whatever, but like if it's an individual. Anywho, but I definitely want to watch the Twiz interview. I mean, that goes without saying. Like maybe there's a way I can edit it to just the part where he's talking. You know what I mean? Just so that way I'm not like just copying from another channel, like another creator. Oh, I freaking love boots. I'm obsessed. And I have a number of Chelsea boots. Chelsea boots are awesome. Did you not know that they were called that or what? Yeah, so I don't know. Happy Annie, since you've watched the interview, do you have any thoughts on how to go about streaming that or covering that where it's not just like, you know, streaming another stream, as it were? Yeah, I think that's why they're called that, being good for walking around London. If Scott was still listening, he could weigh in on that. So could Candace, because she lived in London or grew up in London. Wait, one lived in London or grew up in London. I can't remember which one. Yeah, members only. That's a good thought, Fender. That's a good thought. Yeah, that's a good thought. That's definitely an idea. That's a great idea, actually. Maybe that's what we'll do. Oh, really? Well, yeah, you got to get yourself some Chelsea boots. Will that be for vacation? That's awesome. Let's see what this music's doing. Wow. Groovy, not. Bing, 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 bing. Cool. That's awesome. Are you going to see the tower? That's super awesome. If you go, you'll have to share all your pictures with us in the Discord. No. It's the Court TV. I'm just muting it and unmuting it. It's the Court TV. They have this new thing that they do with the lunch music. There was one live stream when we were covering Lori Vallow. When I got my violin and started improvising with it, it was pretty funny because it changes it up like every 1 minute and it changes keys. You'll see. It's all terrible. Oh, cool. So do you know the person? Yeah, that's awesome. If you want to do that. I mean, no pressure, but yeah. Yeah, they don't. You don't have to go too far to see the OnlyFans. See? Yeah, they should just do the fan with the music. They're going to do the music. But I'm surprised the song hasn't changed up yet. Oh my God. Bender. Talking about fan. That's awesome. Oh, sweet. Thank you. I mean, or I guess Twiz could ask, because since Twiz actually, like, you know, that might make sense. But, you know, he's probably got the contact info and whatnot with that person. But I'll check it out. It might be too that I can just sort of edit it to where it's just the Twiz part. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe the whole thing is good. I just don't know if it's all like, I don't know what the stream is about. I just literally know that I saw Twiz's face. So we'll see. But we're here for the Twiz. So. Wow. Okay. I can't believe it's the same song. All right. We're going to go ahead and have our lunch break. And then again, we will probably be back again. Just, I have a feeling it'll be Judson Welcher, but if it's somebody like, again, like DNA forensics, you know, we'll do that tonight. But yeah, I'll keep you guys posted. And thanks always for being here. Y'all are the best, and I'll see you guys here soon. Squirrel out.